Hello everyone, welcome live to 3YTV tonight's broadcast of the National Sim Racing Association here from the beautiful Daytona International Speedway for more Simbox Truck Series action. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth, as always, is Drew Eisenman. And Drew, great to be back at the World Center of Racing right here at Daytona Beach. Second time we've been here this year because we started off the season with the Simbox 250, a stellar race, but we're back here under the lights for more Daytona action.
Yeah, Peter, it's always one of those places where drivers love it or hate it. It can be a lot of fun. It can be really miserable. We will see how well these guys can do early, right? The big thing is trying to keep yourself up there. If you're a guy that wants to be at the front and keeping the truck clean, and who's going to be doing that strategy, trying to stay up front, stay out of trouble, in the top 3, 4, 5 positions. And then I think we're going to see a not an insignificant amount of guys trying to stay towards the back, but that also, brings up dangers. When there's everyone wanting to be at the back, then it's basically just as bad as being in the middle of the pack. So I think we're going to see different approaches to tonight, but I honestly expect most of these guys to be going pretty hard from the get-go and putting on a pretty good show here at Daytona.
In fact, let's get over to tonight's storylines. The first one is the big one, and Drew, we saw a lot of big accidents back at the Simbox 250 to start off the season, but here tonight, no fast repairs on these trucks, these drivers, and oh man, right there, that's what I'm talking about. The number 88 of Michael Mooney goes spinning. There goes the number 9 of James Lorello going up the racetrack, slam bam into the outside wall. The 50, Bill Edwards, gets in there. So that's a good preface there for the first storyline here tonight. The big one at Daytona. We saw a couple of them to start off the season. Will we see the big one here tonight? How many trucks will it take out? When will it happen? Will it be early? Will it be late in the race? We'll just have to wait and find out. Second one, tempers. Drew, last week at Iowa, we saw some tempers start to flare amongst some of these drivers. We're getting to that crunch time in the season, and definitely this is a racetrack where you don't want to have tempers flare over.
Yeah, it's certainly not a track for retribution for something that might have happened at Iowa. Yeah, typically, I don't think you're going to see that too much here tonight, but you certainly might see some guys not be too happy with each other leaving Daytona tonight. So it's so easy for what seems like a pretty solid season to really come off the rails here at Daytona. As that last storyline, we only have 6 races to go here, right? So we have a lot of stuff on the line, a lot of stakes in tonight, and a guy, sitting towards the edge of that playoff cutoff. If they have something go wrong tonight, I definitely think we could see some tempers and some angry emotions, flare up tonight because there's so much pressure now. This isn't the Simbox 250. This is a race where you don't have a lot of room for margin of error if you want to make this championship and you're not Chris Darling or James Rello or one of those guys up at the front in points. So there's a lot on the line tonight, and I think we might see a couple unhappy drivers by the end of this thing.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, tonight also marks the halfway mark in the 2020-2021 Simbox Truck Series. So going to be something that we're going to keep an eye on as we move on into the second half of the season, is whether or not we do start to see some of those tempers continue to flare amongst the drivers. But we're seeing this gaggle of trucks out there on the racetrack. Just about 1 minute left here in the practice session. But let's see if we can bring up the current point standings. There you see right there on your screen, James Lorello comes into tonight as the points leader, 24-point advantage over Bill Edwards. And we've seen Lorello pick up a couple of wins so far this season, Drew. Been very, very fast. In fact, he even missed the race. And he is your points leader here going into what is the halfway race of the season. Jeff Price there, also winner this season. TJ Buck picked up a win this season as well. Jeffrey Johnson Jr., Doug Milliner there, Mitchell Adams, Colin Ullery, and Ben Adams there to round out your top 10. But Lorello looking pretty strong there to make his way into the chase.
And just for a little perspective on the points, right? Because these numbers might not mean a lot if you don't understand the point structure. So basically, you are earning a base of 40 points for finishing first, all the way down to about a point, so 5-point bonus, a 5-point gap between first and second. So 40 points for first, 35 for second, and then it's pretty much a 1-point difference there on down. So with a 24-point lead, that's a pretty big lead for Mr. Lorello. I mean, that's darn near a full race, depending on how many guys show up. So he's in a really good spot. But then I think when you start to get around that 10 spot, that's where it's starting to get interesting. As there's about a 20-point gap right there, 26-point gap between Colin Ulrey and Ben Adams, but Daytona can change that, right? Like Chris Darling's run so well, he's not really out of this. I thought he was actually in a little bit better situation points-wise. So a lot at stake tonight here for these drivers, Peter.
Yeah, without a doubt, definitely going to be an interesting one as we go forward. But tell you what, Drew, qualifying here at Daytona has begun. We've now moved over into the Sim Racing Shirts pole shootout here, and it's going to be interesting to see who walks away with the pole here tonight, because although the pole isn't very important here at Daytona, it is always a little bit of bragging rights.
Yeah, everyone wants to start on pole, right? I mean, if at the end of the season, when you look at the statistics and you see one pole, no one's going to really care that it's at Daytona or Talladega. You got that pole. And I think everybody who's into racing wants to be the fastest guy on a track on a given weekend. So it'll be interesting to see. I know there's some little tricks of the trade, so to speak, with what you can do to be quick here at Daytona. I'm not sure if that stuff still works, those kind of exploits that people use. But we shall see. A lot of this is just keeping as little wheel in the truck as possible going through these corners and just minimizing the amount of changes you make to that wheel, right? You don't want to be making small adjustments in the middle of the corner and just scrubbing speed off of this thing. You want to be keeping it just nice and steady and smooth. And I know that Kyle Busch had a famous quote not too many years ago about the driver makes so little difference here. And I actually disagree with Mr. Busch. He's certainly a better stock car driver than me. That is without dispute. But I definitely disagree with him on that point. I think that the driver, especially in fixed sets, has everything to do with it, right? All these guys have the exact same equipment on iRacing, the exact same setup as it's a fixed setup league. So it's all into the driver to make up that time here. And, I mean, we'll see who can do it the best.
Yeah, we got all these drivers out there on the racetrack right now. We were looking at the number 15 there of Robert Dudley. He's working his way around the racetrack, using that high line, Drew, to get that truck wound up.
Yeah, that first lap, pretty much all these guys are going to be, you really want those left sides basically on that white line that we're seeing at the top end of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then on that second lap, you're going to keep it. I mean, so my personal deal, and I've won a couple poles here. I'm definitely not the best qualifier at these restrictor plate tracks, but typically on that second lap, you're going to see them really pin it to that double yellow line through the corners. And you just kind of want to let the truck breathe up coming out of the corner and just basically kind of let it take its natural course so you're not scrubbing that speed. I think if you try to keep it too low on the coming out of the corners, you can really scrub a lot of speed off of that thing. And as we're looking at the times right now, we have that 9, James Zarello. Might be Daytona, same story. James Zarello, number 9, to the provisional pole, though we do still have several guys on track taking lap times.
Yeah, in fact, only 12 drivers have taken time, but we're watching right now the man who was on the provisional pole. He's going to slide back to the 3rd position because the number 84, that would be TJ Buck. He has gone to top of the charts, right in front of the number 10 of Monty Glover. So good job by the number 10 as well to jump up there into the 2nd position. There he is, getting that truck brought down to the pit lane here on his cool down lap. But we have a lot of trucks yet to get out there on the racetrack, including this man right here, the 13 of Jordan Scheffler. He's getting that truck up to speed. Nicholas Bradley out there. There he is in the number 40 Toyota Tundra. Rocket City Custom PC, one of the league sponsors here in the National Sim Racing Association. Make sure you check them out. Link in the description. And of course, Simbox, the series sponsor here all season long. Make sure to check them out. If you are a sim racer yourself and you need a button box, I mean, who doesn't need more buttons for sim racing, especially if you're interested in getting into VR? That's one thing I've talked to a lot of people about. When you're racing VR, you can't see the buttons on your steering wheel. You can't see, so you need a button box to know where your buttons are, so you can kind of almost like you're blind when you're in VR. You can't see those buttons. So definitely going to be something to invest in if you're getting a VR headset at this time of the year. But as you can see, only about 24 seconds left here, Drew. A lot of trucks not electing to qualify, and Joshua Sobel right there at the end of qualifying session looks like he's going to jump to the top of the board. How about that?
Great effort by that 30 truck. Fantastic job. It's so funny here at Daytona how many you kind of expect a little bit more variance here in who's going to be quick than you would at Richmond to Iowa to Kansas. Typically the guys that are quick are going to be quick at most tracks, and you expect Daytona a little bit of a different skill set will be required, but Joshua Sobel has had speed this year. I know he hasn't had the results that he wanted, but pole for that 30 truck, and he's got to be happy with that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Joshua Sobel going to be very, very happy with that. And in fact, let's see if we can bring up our good old graphic. The Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award goes to the number 30 this week of Joshua Sobel. Yet to get out there onto the grid, though. We're waiting to see him present that number 30 machine out there. Looks like not a whole lot of cars have actually made it down to the starting grid just yet. So going to be interesting to see exactly who decides to get down there on the racetrack. It looks like they're finally starting to grid up, but we haven't seen the number 16, Brian Bradley, Jordan Scheffler, Matt Cherry hasn't gotten out there on the racetrack as well. And still no Philip Scott out there on the racetrack. So hopefully he can get out there here very shortly so he can pick up that Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award here, Drew. Still don't see him. Oh, finally, there he is in the Stay Tuned Sports Toyota Tundra, your Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award winner here tonight. And Drew, time to go through tonight's starting lineup.
Yep, Joshua Sobel in that 30 truck will be your pole sitter with Mitchell Adams. So strong all year, strong here again at qualifying in Daytona. 84 of TJ Buck will be starting in third. To his outside, the 10 of Monty Glover. P5 points leader, and quite frankly, the guy who's been probably the quickest on any given weekend thus far, James Thorello. To his outside, relative newcomer in the 82 truck of Adam Dama. Stephen Doziak Jr. will be starting in P7 with the 15 of Robert Dudley starting to his outside. Ben Adams, our cutoff driver in the top 10 of points right now, will be starting ninth. Into his outside will be that 88 of Michael Mooney.
On row number 6 on the inside, the number 51 of Paul Bilson. Into his outside, the number 42 of Barry Knapp. On the next row, on the inside, the number 21 of Aaron Mack, Brian Bradley to his outside, while on row number 8, on the inside, the number 7 of Ray Heilig and the number 40 of Nicholas Bradley. There is the number 7 of Heilig starting to roll out there onto the racetrack right now. Behind them, on row number 9, the first car is not to take time, the number 48 of Matt Cherry with the number 50 of Bill Edwards right there in 18th. And rounding out your top 20, the number 14 of Jeff Price and the 24 of Ben Mashburn.
And then pretty big field here tonight. And starting in 21st will be the 61 of Joey Doucette with Jeffrey Johnson Jr., the guy that always seems to kind of start a little bit further back, but seems to finish in the top 10 in darn near every one of these races. And JT Poole will be starting 23rd in row 12. Into his outside, that 6 of Doug Milliner. Andrew Himmelman will be starting in 25th position with Jordan Scheffler to his outside. Colin Ullery, another one of those guys kind of on the precipice of the danger zone, really, will be starting 27th with Justin White in a really cool new scheme that Chris Darling, I believe, threw together. My apologies if that wasn't Chris Darling, but I believe it was. I really dig that 2 truck. He'll be starting 28th. Speaking of Chris Darling, 29th for that 47 trucks, featuring a little bit of a different scheme as well for him. And that Nathan Maurer in that 971, starting to his outside. The 44 of Philip Scott, teammate to Chris Darling, will be starting in 31st with my favorite number in racing, the 77 in 32nd. Finishing out the field real quick before we go green, the 60. Everything just got changed up. We're going green here, Peter. So 60 to 37 is Zach Howell. My apologies for taking a little bit too much time there. But the 30 of Josh Sobel taking him to the green as they kind of get single file here before too long, pretty early to kind of be going single file up at the front, at least for the first 3 rows or so. But Josh Sobel, good start. But I don't think we're going to see this stay single file for very long, as here comes TJ Buck to his outside.
And look at that huge line of trucks here down the backstretch, led by the number 30 of Joshua Sobel. Got the number 49, your reigning Simbox Truck Series champion, right back behind him. That outside line, though, led by the number 84 of TJ Buck. But here comes the number 9 of Lorello, as still Joshua Sobel looking to lead lap number 1 as they come out of turn number 4.
Yeah, Josh Sobel, Mitchell Adams, right on each other's bumpers, clear of the rest of the field. I don't think that with these trucks we're going to see any breakaway packs, short of pit stops, maybe breaking the field up. But until then, I think these guys are going to be nose to tail throughout the pack. And yeah, we're seeing the 9 truck, we're seeing the 49, the 30 truck, all kind of start to get that inside formed up pretty well. We'll see if that outside can get some momentum. I didn't really see the outside be super great in practice, but if that's also practice, right? You don't typically get full fields in practice, but we're actually seeing this field be pretty calm here, Peter.
Yeah, pretty calm early on. Maybe they... Okay, YouTube's... All right, folks, apologize for that. YouTube has had a little bit of an issue. Looks like we lost connection to the YouTube server. Unfortunately... everything was clean and green on our end, so not sure if that was a YouTube thing, but, YouTube had a lot of problems yesterday. YouTube went down. Luckily, we had no broadcast yesterday night during that outage, but as of right now, you didn't miss anything because Joshua Sobel continues to lead up at the front of the field in the number 30 machine. So far, he's led every single lap. That outside line still led by Robert Dudley, and we have about a 13-car group up here, Drew, before the number 7 machine of Ray Heilig has a little bit of a gap back to the number 40 of Bradley.
Yeah, interesting to see the guys that have really started to lay back. I think guys like the 6 truck way in the back if you look at timing and scoring. He's a little bit further back than he would want to be, but there's definitely the guys that want to be up front, are making their presence known, and then quite a few guys are happy to just kind of space it out and let this race develop further. Problem is, Peter, I mean, we both experienced this in racing at these restrictor plate tracks. You anticipate there being a lot of wrecks early and being at the back working out, but that doesn't always work out that way a lot. I mean, we both, I think, had races that have gone green for darn near the whole race. And then when you give up all that track position, when half the field, kind of like right now, gives up all that track position, all of a sudden, there haven't been any big wrecks. Maybe there's been a caution here or there. And then towards the end of the race, everybody's fighting to get back up there. And then that just makes it can make these late stages just absolutely chaotic. As here comes James Lorello to the outside of that 30 truck. He's going to be trying to take the lead away from Joshua Sobel, who has led from the start here, which at Daytona, especially with these trucks, you typically don't see a leader for the first 5 or so laps, but I don't know if Joshua Sobel's going to be able to hang on, as that outside line has quite a bit of momentum. Sobel's going to try to pull it back. Nope. James Lorello's going to lead lap 5 here, Pete.
Yeah, that number 9 machine getting out front. We've said that a lot this season here in the Simbox Truck Series, and for now, Lorello had the lead, but looks like Sobel going to just inch ahead. They're going to continue to kind of yo-yo back and forth that we see here at the super speedways quite a bit. But going back to one of the things that you mentioned when we were going through the field, Drew, was the number 2 machine had a new paint scheme. That's a new Max Grafix paint scheme. Definitely check out Max Grafix, one of the league sponsors here in the National Sim Racing Association. And definitely great to have them on board all season long on a lot of these trucks, including the number 48 machine of Matt Cherry. But back up at the front, TJ Buck in the number 84. He's going to try and take the race lead, and he does. So TJ Buck now is your race leader. How about that? 2 laps in a row, 2 different leaders.
Yeah, this is pretty much what we expect here at Daytona, especially with these trucks. The closing rate and the draft effect is so strong with these trucks. It kind of reminds me of the old Busch cars from the mid-2000s when they had that big wicker across the roof and just crazy racing. It's basically what we're going to see with the trucks here, but that can kind of get you into some compromising positions because these things just suck up so well. The draft effect is so strong that you can get some pretty big runs here. But notably, I don't think we're going to see a ton of different leaders here tonight. I think the guys that we're seeing here up in the top 10, top 15 are probably going to be the guys that are going to be fighting for this lead until the rest of the field just decides, hey, it's time to get back up there and fight with these guys. I think we're going to see TJ Buck, Josh Sobel, James Sorello, Mitchell Adams, and basically everybody else that we're seeing on the screen here. I think these are the guys that are going to be exchanging the lead quite a bit throughout the night here until the rest of the field decides that, it's no longer time to hang in the back, as that was quite a shot that 15 gave TJ Buck there on the backstretch. Got the 84 a little bit out of shape there. That's a nice little message on the spoiler of that 84 truck there, Peter.
I'll tell you what, that is the best message that I've ever seen on a race truck. So definitely give the 84 some credit for that one. I gotta say, that one is pretty stellar. We'll have to see if there's an I Heart Drew Eisenman out there somewhere on one of these trucks as well. But, this is what we're going to see a lot here tonight. Looking out back. Now, if you are the 84 of TJ Buck right now, you are mirror driving. You're trying to figure out, is the high line going to go? Is the low line going to go? Which one is going to get the advantage coming out of the corner? And, for right now, the number 15 out there, Robert Dudley's got a little bit of a momentum with a little bit of help from the 88 there, Michael Mooney. And these trucks just kind of tandeming together down the backstretch, just trying to inch ahead to get to the race lead. And we're going to see that all night long here as we close in on lap number 10.
Now, Peter, I know that they have attempted to break at least the Xfinity and Cup stuff up with the cooling packages that they allow on those vehicles. Do you know if that's the case with the trucks? Do you know if I don't think tandeming is as realistic. These noses are a little bit more curved than their Cup and Xfinity counterparts. Do you know if how long these guys can push each other without risking blowing up?
I mean, they can do it, for a lap or so. But then after that, the engine temperatures really do start to shoot up as, almost contact there between the 30 and the 88. Michael Mooney going to slot in behind Mitchell Adams. But these trucks do overheat, and they also have a very square front end with the rear tailgate of these trucks. So you can push pretty darn good with them, unlike the ARCA cars, which kind of submarine underneath one another. As the field here is catching up to Adam Dama in the 82. He is currently being scored 10 laps down. I'm not 100% sure if he had connection issues there at the start, Drew, or something, but Adam Dama not able to take the green flag with the field. He will be currently scored 10 laps down. In fact, the only truck at this point in the race the only truck off the lead lap, I should say. So he'd need a lot of lucky dogs, a lot of those Brookstone Animal Hospital lucky dogs to get back on the lead lap. Hopefully, we don't have 10 cautions in this race as we're cleaning green through the first 11 laps. And here comes the number 15 machine, Robert Dudley, to the race lead with help from the 48 there, Matt Cherry.
Yeah, unfortunately, Adam Dahmer right at the start there had a throughput occur. So it's going to be very, very. I don't think it's really plausible to think that you're going to make up 10 laps here at Daytona, unless the worst case scenario unfolds, which of course we hope doesn't happen. And kind of what we're seeing right now, I don't think it seems particularly likely. Doesn't mean it is impossible. But up front, yeah, that outside lane, it seems to be working quite a bit better than I was expecting, as TJ Buck is receiving a push from that 48 truck of Matt Cherry. Cherry's been so quick at these intermediate tracks, and his aggressiveness has sometimes cost him a little bit here early. Well, not early, I mean just thus far in the Simbox Truck Series. So we will see. I think that aggressiveness, as we saw in my personal favorite racer back in the day, Jamie McMurray, aggressiveness can win you a stricter plate race, but it can definitely cost you just as many. And so we'll see what that 48 truck can do, as he is right on the back bumper of that 84 truck right in front of him.
Yeah, he is all over the back bumper right now of the number 84 of TJ Buck, who continues to lead this race. We've definitely had quite a few shuffles right at the top of the field, but for now, what we're seeing at the front of Matt Cherry, Drew, is how difficult it is to kind of stay square up with the truck in front of you, because you can't see through that rear spoiler. That rear spoiler sticks up quite a bit into the air, so you just can't kind of see where that truck is going. The only thing you're watching is that rear tailgate, and as it kind of wags down the front and back stretch, you're just trying to follow it. Watch Cherry as he tries to follow Buck. Buck goes up, Cherry goes up, Buck goes down, Cherry goes down, and you end up making like S's down the front and back stretch with one another to try and stay locked up together. As that might have been a bump gone wrong there, as it looked like Cherry had to back out of it.
Yeah, I know the first time I transitioned from NR 2003, the old Papyrus title, and then when I started doing iRacing, when I did NR, I definitely used the roof cam. You can just see a lot better. And then coming into iRacing, that's such an adjustment at these super speedways to all of a sudden be pretty low down in these cars relative to the ability of you to see out of them. And then you just kind of figure out tricks. I think a lot of guys will, especially if you're on the inside lane, you can really just kind of look down and to your left at the double yellow line to kind of get a reference on where you are in relation to the actual track surface. Because when you're up behind a truck like we're seeing that 48 behind the 84, you really can't see where you are relative to your position on the racing surface. So you really have to use your peripherals to really figure out exactly how close you are to that yellow line, how close you are to that truck on either side of you, potentially. It can be really tricky because your vision is pretty severely limited.
Yeah, you can see right now, though, the 48 and the 84 kind of inverse numbers of one another running out there on the racetrack right up at the front. They did a good job there on the backstretch, kind of holding line with one another, but you definitely made a good point, Drew, that you can kind of watch that yellow line for a reference point. It definitely helps to have triple monitors, believe it or not. Even though you're mostly flat out, you don't really have an apex here. Triple monitors can really help. How about this run from Barry Knapp in the 42 AC Delco Chevrolet? He's going to try and go for the race lead.
Yeah, old school scheme there on that 42 reminds me of like old, I guess it's pre-Ron Hornaday. That would definitely be a Dale Earnhardt Jr. scheme. Definitely dig that. But yeah, the outside lane, it seems to be really quick. It just seems like guys abandon it. It's kind of strange, right? That's how the 84 got the lead, and now the 48 truck making a move on TJ Buck. Matt Cherry not satisfied with second, and we will see. It's kind of strange that guys are abandoning that outside lane when it seems really, really, really suited to at least passing guys. I know the problem is if you just ride around on that inside, really, if a guy gets a good run, he can just dive it low through one of these corners and take that lead away from you. But we'll see with Matt Cherry. Man, I mean, that inside lane is not very well formed up. There's some trucks down there, but James Arello's got over a truck length between he and that 15 of Robert Dudley in front of him. So we'll see. Well, now they close down, of course. We'll see if Matt Cherry can grab this lead from TJ Buck. He's been so aggressive pushing that 84 that sometimes you're just like, man, just kind of make a move already. I don't want you all up under my tailgate like that this early on in the race. But now, I say early on in the race, we're already on lap 17. This race has gone by pretty quick here thus far, Peter.
Yeah, and you can look at those numbers up at the top of your screen. Laps since pit, well, they all pretty much say 17 laps because none of the drivers have yet to make a pit stop here tonight. But remember, Drew, these drivers here in the Simbox Truck Series, they run with a smaller tank of fuel than what these trucks can actually run in real life. So I expect to see these trucks on pit road here very, very, very shortly. I think around the Simbox 250 to start off the season, we had about 18 to 19 laps of fuel. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if these trucks come down pit road this lap for the first green flag pit stops. And you and I know pit stops here at Daytona can be very, very costly, as the 15 of Dudley has a little bit of connection issues. Looks like that gets sorted out.
Yeah, and that's one benefit to running in the middle towards the back of the pack is you can save a ton of fuel here at Daytona by just lifting off. We'll see, does anybody come down pit road? So they are at 73% fuel here. So I would imagine they're trying to let these guys get to lap 20. And then I don't think we're going to see many guys, if anybody, get to lap 25. Basically, there's no different strategy-wise here. 100 laps, you either need to make it to lap 20 or lap 25, whether you want a 4 or 3 stop race. I mean, obviously here at Daytona, tires don't matter as much, like especially with pace. I mean, handling-wise and your ability to block and such absolutely will be affected by tires, but you're not going to really run much slower. You're not going to lose a ton of time. So undercutting here is not really unless you just nail it with another group of trucks. It's a totally different strategy than you would see at like Rockingham or Iowa last week or something like that. So we will see. None of the leaders that time by came through. So yep, they're making it to lap 20, which is about when I anticipated here. So yeah, I think that we might start to see guys this time by, next time by pretty soon.
Yeah, now the big question is, can they make it to lap number 25? Because if they can make it to lap 25, then they can make it on only 3 pit stops instead of 4. So that's going to be the new magic number. Now, thinking about it, 73% fuel. Usually you can squeak out about 30 laps or so here at Daytona, maybe 33 laps on a full tank of fuel. So you do the math, that's going to get us to around lap number 20, anywhere between lap number 21 and lap number 24. So I don't think they can make it to lap number 25, but of course I'm down here in the booth, not out there on the racetrack, as you can start to see these drivers getting a little bit more antsy, Drew. It seems like that outside line is forming up a little bit better, especially back in the pack. So I'm wondering if these drivers are starting to think about that pit stop, because you want to position yourself for that pit stop where you're with some buddies out there on the racetrack, and you do not want to get caught up in an accident, as we've seen many, many times here at Daytona with this brake package that they have on the super speedway trucks. It's not a very good brake package. It takes a lot to slow down these trucks. You really have to brake early. Very easy to lock up the rear brakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a small mistake getting onto pit road. I mean, obviously speeding is disastrous here at Daytona, because not only do you get that penalty, but you're going to lose the draft. But as far as positioning yourself pre-pit stop, it's so easy to be kind of not quite at the front and not nail your pit stop, either getting on or off pit road, or just iRacing deciding to give you just a fractionally slower stop than those around you, and you can lose the draft coming off the pit lane. So I think guys like James Zarello and TJ Buck, this is the payoff, right, for being up there, is the ability to have a little bit more wiggle room with these green flag stops. But even then, I think we're going to see guys like Mitchell Adams and stuff. They're going to be very aggressive getting on and off pit road, and this can really break up the pack.
It could definitely break up the pack here. And now here we go. We got takers on pit road, including your race leader, TJ Buck. He's all by himself in the number 84 machine. Looks like he is going to be the only truck on pit road. And Drew, that could be a blessing or it could be a curse, because he's not going to have any buddies to go out there on the racetrack with him so he can draft with once he makes his pit stop. However, he has made it on pit road by himself nice and safely, which is definitely a good thing, because like I said, you can get run over here at Daytona with the brake package, and now we're going to have to watch the rest of the field head down pit road. Presumably, they'll be coming down this time.
Yeah, and if I were that 84 truck, I would be certainly taking 2 tires if nobody else is coming down. I would try to make that pit stop. I mean, obviously you need a full tank of gas, but you're trying to shorten that thing up as much as possible. And then we'll see. I expect a lot more guys this time by. 14 truck, 15 truck, 48 of Matt Cherry. Quite a big chunk of guys as it got really tight there on pit road. We'll see if that 14 got it down in time. That was, I mean, he certainly maximized his entry if he didn't get a penalty there. But man, you really don't want to be 3 wide as you get to the line on pit road, just because these trucks can move around so much when you just really start getting on the brakes. That can easily turn real hairy. As now we're watching guys go down the backstretch, still waiting for the rest of the field to come by. Like you said, Peter, if they can make it one more lap after this, they're in a really, really, really good position. We'll see if anybody pushes it that far. I imagine some of the guys that were further back in the pack are going to be able to push it. But typically, here we go. 9 truck coming down, 44, 47, 26, 24. A bunch of teammates, and man, that is a massive trucks coming onto pit road here. We'll see if everybody got her load down safely. Looks like it so far. Don't see any big dramas, but man, that's a ton of trucks.
Yeah, Pit road is very, very full right now. That is for sure. You see all those trucks getting to their pit box, including Matt Van Der Kooi. Oh, did Van Der Kooi miss his pit box? I think he did here, Drew, and that could be absolutely costly for the number 60 machine as he's getting back out there on the racetrack. We have 6 trucks who have not come down pit road yet, including this man right here, Joshua Sobel, the Stay Tuned Sports Toyota Tundra. We expect to see him on pit road, and he has a good contingency of fans in the chat here tonight. Both Stay Tuned Sports and Rich Sobel in the chat as the number 30 of Josh Sobel comes down pit road, and oh man, the 49 there of Mitchell Adams getting it sideways, getting to pit road. Ben Adams back there. Looks like Paul Bilston might have had some trouble getting his truck woed down as well, and also looks like Monty Glover on pit road with them. So those 5 trucks going to come down all together right at the end of lap number 25, and that is one of those magic numbers, Drew, where you could make it on only 3 stops if you can kind of do it 25, 25, 25, 25. So going to be interesting to see if they can do that here. They're rolling out there on the racetrack, but now you're going to have the lead pack here working their way around turn there through the trial wheel, excuse me. And watch this head of steam that they already have here going off into turn number 1. I think they're going to blow by this group of trucks coming off pit road.
Yeah, they managed to make it work. I mean, they just managed to pit during a big pack, and I'm sure that the 30 and the 49 just weren't quite up to speed. Now, I don't think that they are uncatchable for these guys coming off the pit lane, especially if they're able to kind of group together right here. I think, yeah, I mean, look how big this wad of cars is coming to them. I think that this field will kind of recombine over the span of the next fuel run. But I really like that move by the 49 and the 30 and the rest of the guys that came on pit road with them, like the 51. You just give yourself more options when you wait that long, right? You have more paths to victory. Not that any of us haven't heard that recently, but you just want to be able to be more flexible strategy-wise. These guys know that, you know, they have a lot better fuel than everybody else, so they have a lot less saving to do if it's going to be close to lap 50, right? Like, I really like this move by the 30 and the 49 and company. That I think they're just they're in absolutely prime positions. Man, that 84 truck almost slammed the door on a competitor there. But looking out front, I mean, we will have to compare these lap times when everyone gets up to speed. But 3 trucks might just be enough. I think if you had a 5 truck pack here at the front, it would be a lot more difficult for a big pack that's going to be racing each other to catch these guys. But we'll see. We'll have to really start doing splits between these guys and the rest of the pack. But it sure doesn't seem like they're pulling away at this point, Peter.
Yeah, and I'm keeping my eyes on possible speeding penalties. Looks like we might have had some people caught back there, including Barry Knapp and Brian Bradley. Both of those trucks now 1 lap down. The 42, who we'd seen up there near the front of the field, he's now being scored 33rd, Drew. Brian Bradley being scored in 32nd. So those trucks are going to need a Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog to get back on the lead lap. Matt Van Der Kooi in the number 60. Remember, we saw him make that mistake of missing his pit box. He is currently being scored 31st, and he is in danger of falling a lap down here pretty shortly.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, it's not impossible to recover from that stuff. There's a big checkup. I think the 88 just might have gotten in the back of that 30 truck. There was a big checkup going through the tri-oval. If they didn't make contact, it's about as close as you can come. So we'll queue up that replay for you folks. Here we are coming out of turn 4. You can see heading down to the tri-oval. The 30 peaks high a little bit. Oh, yeah, checkup. And, oh, yeah, I think there's a little bit of contact there, Peter. But, man, that could have been huge for our pole sitter.
Yeah, there was definitely contact. We'll get one more looking out back on board with the number 30 machine right here. Watch this run that this outside line gets. The 88 of Michael Mooney shot out of a cannon right there, and boom, there's that little bit of contact. Now they're able to keep it going. In fact, I'm really surprised that they were able to keep it going, so good job by them to avoid any further contact. But we're back live, and how about this pack? They've all gotten themselves back together, and we have a 20-plus truck train once again here at Daytona.
Yeah, it's certainly like the guys who are content with chilling at the back are not so content anymore, as we are 2x2 through the vast majority of the field right now, as you can see in your background. That's the 47 of Chris Darling. I think he doesn't like what he's seeing, and he is looking to go towards the back there. I thought that might have been a moment real quick, but I think he's just trying to get out of this real quick. Kind of puts his teammate up the track, that 44 truck. But not surprising. Chris Darling is trying to race smarter, not harder necessarily. But back up front, Robert Dudley taking that lead away from Matt Cherry. And I guess he led the last time by. But those guys up front have been mixing it up quite a while, the 14, the 15, and the 48. Just kind of trading that top spot. As it seems like Matt Cherry's been pretty much second this whole race. I wonder if guys are getting tired of seeing that 48 truck in their mirror, because it's better than seeing them out of their windshields. But he's been an exceptional pusher tonight. He's really been able to keep guys up front and prevent any big runs from happening around him. But look at this 5 truck trying to take advantage of Matt Vanderkoy's another truck ducking out there. I believe that is the 24. Yes, it's Ben Mashburn, 47's teammate. They might not like what they're seeing up there. But so those trucks to the outside, I thought they were going to try to take advantage of the draft of Matt Vanderkoy, but I think ultimately going 3 wide through 3 and 4 just really slowed those guys down, unfortunately for them. But up front, your top 6 or so, single file. And I know that kind of in days gone by, we would have seen a little bit of a breakaway start to occur. I just don't think that that's really possible here with these trucks, Peter.
Yeah, I was really impressed with how they were able to accordion themselves back together there after that pit stop. We saw some pretty significant gaps. It looks like James Lorello in the number 9 machine, he's going to jump down to the bottom. We're right on board right now with the number 33 of Jeffrey Johnson Jr., and you see Lorello there off the pace in that truck. Looks like Jeffrey's going to let him in right there. But again, Lorello saying, you know what, I think I've had enough of that lead pack. It's a little bit too racy up there here, as of course we still have 68 laps to go this time by when they cross the stripe here at Daytona. But clean and green for the first 32 laps. How about that? That is awesome to see here. I know these drivers didn't really have the race that they were looking for back in the Simbox 250 with a lot of early cautions, but so far here tonight, a lot of green flag racing and a lot of side-by-side action here. That's what we love to see on 3 Wide TV, and I know that's what you like to see in the chat as well. The Joshua Sobel fans very active in the chat, and if you're tuned in and trying to watch tonight's race here on 3 Wide TV, hopefully you're having a good evening. Saw Garrett Gleason, Mike Floppy Tellier in the chat a little while ago as well. Among some other people, I saw Peter Serto in the chat here tonight. So definitely a good group of people here on 3 Wide TV. Make sure you give a like for the video. It helps out the channel as well as the National Sim Racing Association, as that is a lap around the Daytona International Speedway on board with Jeffrey Johnson Jr., Drew.
Yeah, it's one of the most familiar, famous sites in all of racing, whether it's sports cars, stock cars, you name it. It's, I wish Formula One would be able to come here, because I think that would just be exceptional. Heck, motorbikes, the Daytona 200, I believe. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest races in North American motorcycling. Name the type of vehicle, if it races here at Daytona, that's pretty much the coolest place that it races at. So, the high banks here, one of the original, like, kind of modern style tracks. It's always fun to race here, even if you don't always get the results that you want. I always got to race at Daytona. But up front, a little bit of a change, right? That 15 to 48 shuffled a little bit, and now we have that 5 truck of Ben Adams. Again, one of those guys kind of in the uncomfortable area of points down there in 10th. I think he's going to be happy to be up there with Mr. Bad Luck himself, the 51 truck of Paul Bilson, looking to have himself a good race.
Yeah, absolutely. That number 5 and the 51 kind of locked together. I know Bilson's had a lot of bad luck here in the Simbox Truck Series. He's trying to shake that off here tonight. And gotta say, in the chat, we've had some discussion about one of the series sponsors. Looks like Rich Sobel saying he's trying to put some money together to get one of those Taz Racing Customs diecasts. And of course, Taz Racing Customs, sponsor of the Biggest Mover of the Race Award. Make sure you check them out for all of your custom diecast needs. Definitely a great series sponsor. We'll check in with whoever picks up the Biggest Mover of the Race Award after this one. But how about Matt Vanderkoy in the number 60 Drew. He's trying to get himself his lap back the old-fashioned way by getting out front of these guys there on the high line with a little bit of help from Michael Mooney after missing his pit stall there under the one and only green flag pit stops that we've had here tonight. And, you know, I'm one of those people where if I have a truck that's a lap down in the lead pack, that could be a very advantageous position because you know you can draft with them. You don't have to pass them. You can just draft behind them if they're leading the pack, and you're still the race leader.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely something that at the end of the race, you could just push him to what would appear to be the race victory, but it actually would be yours because it doesn't matter if he crosses the start-finish line before you or not. And then also from the 60s perspective, the best way to get the Lucky Dog award here is to be up there with the leaders, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can stay right there in the top 5 on the racetrack, at least you know in track position, you're pretty much guaranteed the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner if a caution flag was to come out. And I don't think it's will a caution flag come out. I think it's a question of when the caution flag will come out because we know that these drivers, as soon as the lap count starts to wind down, Drew, the action will heat up, and it's pretty much inevitable. Although what we're seeing right now is a lot of single file now throughout the pack. A couple of trucks there, double file up there near the top 10. But then, as you can kind of see in this train as we look out back of Ben Adams' number 5 machine, a lot of single file towards the back of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely commendable for these guys on lap 38 to not have brought out a single caution. But I think we know, come 10 laps to go, guys they're just going to be, 5, I mean, it's probably going to be more, but let's just be conservative, 5% more aggressive. And just one tiny error in judgment, and quite frankly, it doesn't even have to be an error with the net code and things like that can happen in iRacing. Just that the kind of higher intensity racing just lends itself to things happening. That doesn't mean it's impossible. It certainly isn't. I know I have been a part of caution-free races at restrictor plate tracks. I don't know if it was at Daytona or Talladega. It's probably been 1 or 2, but they are possible, though very, very rare. But I think that if you kind of view, and I certainly don't, but I know that there are those who do, if you view restrictor plate racing as kind of a diminished form of racing, which again I think is kind of ridiculous. It's very difficult to do and be good at consistently. But I think a caution-free race here at Daytona would be a very, very difficult thing to win because you have to nail those pit stops. As a little bit of action going on here, the 7 got a bit of an uncomfortable bump, and he just brought that up over the radio. And then a little bit of changing up here for the lead is that 15 truck looking to make a move at least on our leaders. But yeah, we'll take a look out of this 7 truck. He got a shot from the 82 and got him all sorts of out of shape there on the backstretch.
Yeah, here we go down the backstretch, and there's the nudge. Ooh, yeah, right there. There was a little bit of a bumper hooking between those 2 trucks, and they were able to get themselves sorted back out. So that's the good news. Ray Heilig up there in that TikTok machine on that high line, kind of trying to catch up to the back of the number 48 of Matt Cherry, who now ducks back in line. Ben Adams up there towards the front. Here comes Paul Bilson. Adams went all the way down there below the yellow line. The 51 of Bilson got a run, and now the 51 looking to take the race lead.
Yeah, we're starting to see guys really mix it up here at the front. It's kind of come in waves, right? They race real hard, then kind of settle down, then race real hard, then kind of settle down. And this is certainly one of those peaks in intensity here at the front as Bilson and TJ Buck really racing hard. Man, that 15 was moving around a ton when he almost gave a shot to that 84 truck. And that's what you don't want when you're bump drafting, guys. And when you're being bump drafted, you don't want a lot of difference in like lateral momentum with these trucks. You don't want the guy bumping you to be kind of, fading to one side while they're kind of bumping. You really want to be going in the exact same path of travel to the guy in front. It's when you kind of get those differences in that you can have really big problems. Man, that was an aggressive move from the 15 and the 48, sweeping down towards the bottom in the 84, then with the subsequent block there on him. Starting to mix it up here pretty well there, Pete.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, TJ Buck back out front as you see the whole field going by. You can probably hear more Racecar than you can hear me there in that shot. Definitely these drivers know how to get around this racetrack, but we have to start talking about pit road once again, because Drew, we're probably gonna see trucks on pit road here in about 6 to 10 laps from now. Definitely within 10 laps from now. So probably 6 to 8 laps from now, we'll be seeing the second, hopefully, green flag pit stops of the night. And remember, TJ Buck was the first one on pit road to begin the first cycle, and he's out front again. And folks, when you're out front here with these trucks, you're burning more fuel than the drivers towards the back of the pack. It's the whole tow that you get off the back of these trucks. It's the draft, where you're able to breathe the throttle just a little bit, and you can save some fuel by doing so. There's, of course, less air back behind these trucks, because the trucks in front of you are pushing a hole in the air, so there's less downforce on the front of the race car. There's less drag, just less overall pressure on the frontal area of the trucks, and that allows you to just save fuel if you're towards the back of the pack. So some of the drivers, like Joshua Sobel, who was, oh, wow, that was the closest we've been to an accident all night long. We'll tee that one up here for a replay. Back there around Paul Bilson, there was definite contact between them. Let's see if we can see this one, Drew, on a replay.
Yeah, looking at the replay here. Man, the 82 again got into the back of that 7 and really upset that 7 truck. The 82 is about 10 laps down at this point. I would not be very happy when a guy that many laps down is getting up there and doing that stuff. I think there was a little bit of radio chatter indicating that those guys felt the same way as I would have if I were in this situation. It's a 42. He is I believe he's coming off a pit road there, Peter. So that is very early, I think, for a lot compared to the rest of these guys. I think they're going to be a little bit later than here. I expect lap 47, 48, 49, 50 to be more when these guys are going to be pitting. You mentioned Josh Sobel in that 30 truck. He is down there in 15th. That might not seem great, but I think he's doing what he needs to do, which is save fuel, right? Just save fuel. That's all that 30 truck needs to do. He doesn't need to get up there and race these guys right now. He's in a great position with his strategy, and he, along with the 51 and the rest of those guys that were able to stay out that little bit longer, really racing up front, it's not going to help that strategy pan out. If anything, it's just going to cost you more fuel, and it's going to potentially, compromise your position in the race to try to get this thing on fuel mileage.
Yeah, we just saw the lead pack go past this man right here, the number 6 of Doug Milliner. Milliner in that truck, it seems like he has fallen out of the lead draft, and he has fallen a lap down. So now Milliner is going to have to fight with Matt Vanderkoy, who's catching up to him right now for that Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award as we close in on the halfway mark, just 5 laps away from the cross flags here at Daytona. Caution-free so far, although we have been getting closer and closer and closer to that first caution flag here tonight, Drew. A little bit of contact there just a couple laps ago between the 51 and the 7 with a bad bump from the number 82. We're getting closer to it. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and you can see just how quickly something can go from a non-issue to a big wreck, right? It only takes one time to cause a wreck that takes out half the field. Talking about guys losing the pack, though, the 10 and the 2 truck, both of which were pretty far up front, is now we're looking at the 84 of TJ Buck on lap 46 come down. Yeah, this is very early. These guys are definitely not going to be able to make it on one more stop. So TJ Buck in the 84, the first truck to pit last cycle, and that holds up in this cycle as well. And once again, he is by himself. I think he did a really good job in that 84 truck, to be honest, with staying up there in that lead pack, having pitted all by himself.
Yeah, but now the big question is going to be how many of these drivers can make it to lap number 50. We said that number 30 is Sobel and a couple of others were able to make it to lap number 25. Can they make it to lap number 50 and kind of get in that window of possibly making it on one more pit stop? As here we got more takers on pit road. Dudley's coming down. Matt Cherry's coming down. Michael Mooney coming down. They're going to try and get down to that pit road speed limit. Looks like Jeffrey Johnson in the 33 is going to lead another group of trucks down pit lane here. They all are. Looks like Schepler there in the 13. Doziak And looks like that would be the number 42 of Barry Knapp also on pit road. So he's definitely been having problems. He's currently 2 laps down as well, but back up towards the front. It is the number 7 of Ray Heilig continuing to lead this race. He's gotten himself out front in that Chevy Silverado. We'll just have to wait for him to come down and make his second pit stop here tonight.
Yeah, in question now, I mean, we're closing in on this really being important, is how far can the rest of the field make it. Is a bunch of guys coming on pit road, Chris Darling, Ben Mashburn, the 7 truck, and man, we're getting some aggressive pit lane entries here as, man, it's so dangerous to be side by side under braking with these trucks coming in here, because the brake package is not great, right? And it's so easy just to lock up the rears or lock up the front and slide into the guy next to you, or just kind of, the truck become unsettled as you're turning and braking really, really hard, and it's easy for that thing just to start wiggling around and getting into the guys next to you. Looks like fuel only for most of these guys. I think that one of those trucks is taking tires, which is definitely slowing them down. And what are we looking at, Pete?
We're looking at the number 44 of Philip Scott. He was all the way down below the apron. Something happened on the backstretch, and he came down, almost got hooked by Matt Vander Kooi. Looked like Philip Scott thought he was clear, but somehow, some way, he was able to gather it back up, and we stay green flag here at Daytona. How about that?
That's remarkable. I would have thought that would have been a game over, type of wreck for that 44 truck, getting that guy kind of hooked in the left rear and keeping it under control. That's a really good job by him. But again, it shows how quickly just a little miscalculation can result in pretty big consequences. But here we are, seeing the guys that were able to stay out this last time by. We're here on lap 50. If they pitted this lap, they'd be in a pretty good spot. But I think that they'd probably like to stay out one more. I just don't know if that's really possible.
Yeah, they made it to lap number 50, so when they come down pit road, the cross flags will fly this time. So definitely where you want to be to get to the end on possibly only one more pit stop. So Mitchell Adams, Paul Bilson here, Ben Adams, as well as the 30 of Joshua Sobel, your Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award winner there in the number 30. So they're all going to come down to their pit box, and we're going to have to see who's going to win this cycle of pit stops. Oh man, the 50 and the 5 there kind of clipping together. Luckily, you're able to do that here in iRacing. Not allowed to do that in real life. You would cause a pretty nasty accident on pit road. But definitely, these drivers made it to halfway. That's where you want to be. 50 laps down, 50 laps to go.
Yeah, but I know that I've certainly experienced it when sometimes that clipping doesn't work in iRacing, and somehow you make contact with somebody on pit road. It's not very common, but it can happen. As now this is, I believe, the 9 of James Durello coming by all those guys who pitted, and guess who that is on his bumper? His teammate Bill Edwards in that 50.
Yeah, and of course Edwards needing a good race here tonight, trying to stay up there in the point standings. Of course, Lorello comes into tonight as your points leader and is currently your race leader. So definitely would be a good night if the number 9 can finish where he's at right now. Already got 3 wins to his name so far this season here in the first half of the Simbox Truck Series. And got to give Simbox a huge shout out here on 3Y TV. They, of course, are the sponsor of the Simbox Truck Series. But if you need a button box, make sure you check them out. There's a link in the description of the video, because Simbox, they make custom button boxes for a very, very respectable price. And Drew, a lot of those button box makers, they charge through the nose for them, but Simbox give you a good quality product at a good price. It looks like Bill Edwards is going to try and jump to the race lead. Morello's had enough of the lead.
Yeah, that 9 truck, you can see just how quickly you lose momentum without guys pushing you, as he'll fall back to that 15 truck, and now maybe he's trying to get that high lane to work a little bit. You'd kind of expect teammates to maybe be a little more cordial, but certainly it can be one of those deals where you definitely want to beat your teammate more than anybody else, right? That is, in fact, often the case, because you like beating your buddies. But we'll see if that outside lane can get some good speed here. Now, I believe we're focusing in on this 30 truck and the rest of the field down here. Not quite the pit stop that 30 wanted, as I believe this is the second pack, is it not, Peter?
Yeah, so we definitely have 2 distinct packs out there on the racetrack right now. This is the second pack led by the number 51 machine of Paul Bilson. And we ride on board here with the number 30, Joshua Sobel. And you know what, Drew? This isn't too concerning. Yes, we have two distinct packs, but that second pack has a good number of trucks in it. Yes, the front pack has, quite a few more trucks, but there's enough trucks back here that they aren't going to lose too much ground on the front group, even if they might even start catching that front group if they can get in line and work together. But the big thing for a couple of these trucks back here in this pack, if they can make it 25 laps on fuel for what would be their final pit stop, and then 25 laps to the checkered flag, they only need one more pit stop to make it to the end from here. Meanwhile, all the trucks, and I mean all the trucks in that front group, will need to pit at least twice here tonight. So, if you're Joshua Sobel, you might be in the catbird seat even though you're in this second group.
Yeah, I don't think that 51 really wants to be leading the second pack, even though I definitely think he wants to be catching the main lead pack in front of him. But now the second pack's challenging itself, which is never what you want when you're trying to catch that lead pack. But here up front, 47 of Chris Darling. This is the first time he has led tonight with his teammate pushing him. That 24 of Ben Mashburn. That's some good, solid racing from those teammates. It's always nice to have teammates that are in a position, when you're one of them, to have your teammates being able to help you out like this. It can make all the difference in just being able to kind of dictate how the race unfolds. I'm sure if they could get that 44 truck up there as well, that would be what they want. He's not too far back, kind of behind that black and white striped truck of that 14 of Jeff Price. So, good teamwork there. And then unfortunately for that second pack, this is what they really don't want to see. This lead pack's getting single file, where this is where you're going to be running your quickest lap times, is if you're able to kind of stay single file. Now, you'd want them kind of bunched up a little bit more, transferring the momentum to the truck in front of them a little bit more, but it's better to have this kind of a little bit more drawn out single file racing than it would be to have guys racing side by side like they're doing a little bit further down in the pack. I don't think that's going to hurt the field as a whole too much.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, as you can see, that front pack going single file there on the inside line. Drew, you and I know when you're at Daytona and you're on that bottom line, you're going to have what I like to call the accordion effect. The cars are going to bunch up there in the center of the corner. The car out front is going to be scrubbing off speed because they're going to be turning the wheel. They don't have any draft out front. So what happens, of course, is just the trucks behind that have a whole lot of draft, they start to accordion up to the truck in front of them. They have to check up, and then you get a whole bunch of trucks kind of ripple through all the way back to the pack checkup. So that can happen, and that can definitely thwart the pace of the front pack. But definitely going to be interesting to see if that second pack is catching them. Now, I'm just keeping an eye on the distance between Chris Darling right now, as you see that outside line, of TJ Buck in the 15 and Robert Dudley. They're starting to work together. But I'm watching last time by that second group of trucks led by, that was led by the number 77, the 61 of Joey Doucette and the 51 of Paul Bilson. Those two trucks ran a 49.284. That is a little bit slower, about a tenth of a second slower than your race leader. So definitely a little bit of a gap there, growing between those front two groups. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Also, let's talk about any possible pit road speeding penalties under this last round of green flag pit stops. I'm seeing none. No pit road speeding penalties. There was definitely a few long pit stops. Barry Knapp, Adam Dama had fairly lengthy pit stops. Jeffrey Johnson Jr. had a 36-second stop. You compare that to some of the trucks around him who had 32, 31-second stops. Nicholas Bradley had a pretty long stop, as did Drew Himmelman. So, possibly we're seeing some trucks elect to take 4 into this last green flag pit stop, knowing that they are going to have to take 2 right there at the end. And that could be the reason, Drew, why we have 2 distinct packs, is maybe the front pack only took 2 tires and the second group took 4.
Yeah, that absolutely can make the difference, right? You are, when you're not running completely full fuel tanks like these guys are tonight, it's going to take just a little bit of time to change those other side tires, whether you're taking lefts or rights. Typically at Daytona, you would alternate those. You take rights and then lefts the next stop, and then the following stop rights, and so on and so forth. Oh man, they are mixing it up at the front. That was some aggressive maneuvering there by the 15 and the 47 truck as they were getting by that number 10 and number 2, the 2 being Justin White there. And I'd mentioned those guys being a little bit of trouble, being a 2-car pack, as I thought that smoke was a wreck. Good old iRacing glitch right there. But man, those closing rates were just extreme. And when guys are trying to pass each other and you come on lap trucks, that can always be a source of problems.
Yeah, and looking at things, we are now down to just about 27 trucks on the lead lap. As you see, the 47 of Chris Darling make a run there on the high line with a little bit of help from the number 24 of Ben Mashburn. Looks like the 47 of Darling here going to try and get to the front. Will Mashburn stick with him? Yes, he will. And how about Zach Howell in the number 37 right there up to the 3rd position? I think that's the first time we've mentioned him, Drew, as now we're in the second half of the race. It's starting to be go time. You're going to have to try and get yourself to the front. As, the 88 machine, Michael Mooney peeling off the racetrack. Maybe he didn't get that truck full of fuel, but this could be disastrous for the 88.
Yeah, it's interesting at the very least. Maybe he just knows he can't make it, and he wants to do something different. Maybe just taking enough fuel to get it to. I mean, it wouldn't take much fuel to get one more stop. Is caution. Our first caution of the night is out.
Caution flag waves at Daytona, and we'll see if we can figure out exactly how this all went down. Trying to see if there's anything that I can see out there on the racetrack. And I'm struggling to see anything.
I think the 42 might have been involved in it, Peter. I'm having that draw distance issue again, so I can't really see what happened.
Oh, yes. In fact, it was a couple of trucks a lap down involved in this accident. Let's see if we can roll the tape here, because it was the 82 of Dama and the 60 of Matt Vander Kooi going up, and look at the 42. Oh man, the 13 of Schepler. But that was a couple of trucks that were a lap down involved in this one. We'll see if we can get a little bit better look at this one from high atop the blimp cam. Drew, talk us through it.
So we got guys running side by side, the 82 truck on the inside. What's going to happen here? It just looks like one moves up, the other moves down, and then boom, bang, boom. I think the 82 has a pretty race-ending damage right there. It's always unfortunate when you have guys that really they're not contending for the race win, that are out there, causing problems for guys that are on the lead lap. I mean, they have absolutely every right to be on the track. It's just always unfortunate when those guys bring out a caution like this. And that 13 definitely had some decent damage there as he got into the back of that 42 pretty hard. And so this is interesting, and see how this changes everything yet. One more look. Yeah, it looks like the 60 moved down just when the 82 was moving up. I mean, it's a 50-50 deal. Just, again, unfortunate for everybody. It's for the whole field, because this thing was going so well, so impressive to do 60 laps of green here at Daytona. But it's basically a brand new race for all these guys, right? Like, I mean, it's like our favorite thing, the stage breaks in NASCAR. I mean, the first part of the race just basically set you up for this part. Is, man, that 52 took a shot. Was that? I can't imagine that was retaliation. Was that just stuff happening as guys were trying to get their trucks under control, Peter?
Yeah, I think so. And now we have pretty much your entire field here on pit road. We're going to see who wins the race off. Looks like Zach Howell's going to win the race off pit road. It's different strategies on pit road. Some drivers taking 4, some drivers taking 2, as that was close between Ullery and the 30. And Doziak there having problems getting into his pit box. He's still struggling to get into his pit box in the Dunkin' Donut Chevrolet. He still hasn't been able to find it, Drew. Finally, looks like, nope, he's still trying to find his pit box in the 05 machine. So that can happen at Daytona very easily, because, we mentioned this brake package that kind of goes on here, and finally able to find his pit box right there behind the number 82, who has quite a bit of damage. And Drew, we were all scratching our heads when the 88 came down pit road, but he must have been able to see something that we couldn't, because he came down pit road, got service, and he is your race leader.
Yeah, that was some crystal ball stuff going on with that 88 truck, just being able to see in the next 30 seconds there's going to be a caution, and then I'm going to be the race leader. And that's basically what the 88 has done for himself. And now all these guys can make it on one more stop, so that it has completely erased all the work that the 30 and the 51 and the rest of those guys did, which, I mean, I think you honestly think is more likely than it going green the entire way, right? But you're just trying to set yourself up to be in a position that if it does go green, you're able to maximize it. But I don't think any of those guys really thought that this thing was going to go green to the end. So just kind of a big old reset button here. We'll have that 2 truck will stay out and get his lap back. Unfortunately, that 10 truck not going to be able to do that following the truck that he was racing with when they were lapped, as the 88 truck will be our leader. And then basically he just kind of moved up from, I think he was right around the top 10 when he pitted. That'll move him up to the lead. And then basically how these guys were running coming to the yellow flag is how they're running now.
And Drew,
go ahead, Pete.
I just want to see if I can get a quick word with Michael Mooney here before we go green, because the pace car lights have turned off. Michael Mooney, Peter Short, 3Y TV booth. You got a quick copy?
Yes.
Well, I don't know what crystal ball you have, but you came down pit road there, and we were all scratching our heads up in the booth, but it worked out for you. First off, why were you on pit road, and now that you got track position, how are you going to hold on to it?
Well, there was a miscommunication with the amount of fuel put in. I had to pit, and it worked. Crystal ball or not, lucky rabbit's foot, something, it worked. So now we're just going to take off and drive as fast as we've been running, and see if we can't stay in the front like we've been running top 5 most of the race.
All right, well, definitely worked out for you. Best of luck here in the final 36 laps when we go green.
All right, thanks.
All right, well, we'll let Michael Mooney get back to it in his number 88 machine. Green flag about to come out here once again, Drew, but very impressive for that number 88 machine. Things working out, gotta say.
And here the field comes down to take the green flag. Pace car is off. Michael Mooney leading them to the green flag here, as he's going to be leading. Man, that outside lane, actually big checkup. Great restart for the 88 truck, but not great restart for that 24 of Ben Mashburn, as the top 5 are going to be single filing right now. And we'll see kind of, typically that's what you see at these restarts here. Kind of the field will kind of pull itself apart a little bit as everybody gets a little bit better restarts, a little bit worse restarts, and now we're starting to see that energy build back up. Chris Darling pushing that 37 truck with his teammate, the 24, behind him. That outside lane seems to be a little bit more organized, have a little bit better momentum going into turn 3 here. What are these trucks going to do? That 37 is going to cut it to the inside as Chris Darling's trying to make that outside groove work. As Michael Mooney, our restart leader, he isn't even going to lead a lap after this restart, as they are coming down the short chute to the tri-oval, as that 37 truck is going to take the race lead, but not uncontested, as Zach Howell has that 37 of Chris Darling to his outside. Peter, you got a copy?
I am. I'm right here, and I'll tell you what, that number 37 now leading the race, but definitely under fire from that 47 of Chris Darling, like you mentioned there, Drew. So side by side, right up at the front. Ooh, Howell there going below the yellow line. I'm sure he didn't really mean to do that, but now Mashburn in the 47 going to cut down in front of him. That's going to basically leave TJ Buck up there all by himself. He's going to try and jump down in front of the 48 of Matt Cherry, but as I say that, Cherry's going to go up to the top side of the racetrack and pick him up. So once again, Drew, action heating up. Here comes Mooney back up to the high side.
Yeah, it's so incredible how you can think that the field's settling down a little bit. You know, they're going to go single file, then all of a sudden, boom, a guy goes to the outside, another guy goes with them, and they have 84's turn. Big caution.
And this is the big one at Daytona. Trucks still piling in. Problems at Daytona. Caution flag in the air. And that is a whole heap of wadded up trucks. Big trouble in turn number 1. We're going to have to go back and see this one here on the 3-wide TV replay because it happened right up at the front. Let's see if we can look right here. I love Peter Short, but I don't love wrecking because the 84 goes around and like a pinball just gets thrown up there, still getting hit by trucks. Ben Adams involved, the 30 is Sobel involved, your pole sitter. Looks like the 44 was involved of Philip Scott. Man, oh man, a lot of trucks involved. Look at the 21, I think right up there smoking. That, of course, is Aaron Mack. He's had terrible luck this season. Mitchell Adams right there in the 49, also a good chunk of damage. Let's see if we can get one more look out of this one. Let's go on board here with the number 21 machine, Drew.
We are on board with the 21. We're just going to see a big old puff of smoke right about now. And then it's just trying to figure out where these guys going. 21, just, man, he was never able to scrub enough speed off of that 21 truck to really be able to make any evasive action. He just kind of flew into the smoke and hope it worked out. And unfortunately for him, it did not, as it didn't for a bunch of guys, including our pole sitter. Although I'm just looking at this 30 truck, I don't think he really has any damage of note. So that kind of worked out for him. Are we on board with the 33 truck here, Pete?
Yeah, that is right. Jeffrey Johnson Jr., you see that smoke happen. And Drew, I'm just amazed at how quickly the track was completely blocked here. You see him, oh boy. How about that for wreck avoidance? That is some stellar stuff out of the New Edge Auto Detailing number 33 machine. I gotta say, I haven't seen a wreck avoidance like that at Daytona in quite some time. Let's see if we can kind of break this all down on this number 33 machine as he goes off into the corner. You see the contact right there up towards the front of the field. And just watch this number 33 machine. He goes down on the apron, gets it locked up, continues to keep it locked up. It goes completely sideways up the racetrack and through all of the carnage. But we saw a lot of vehicles involved in that accident. So definitely a tough break for a lot of trucks.
It certainly is, Peter. You know, like that 33, that is exactly what you're supposed to do, right? Is slow that thing down as much as possible, right? Just before you get to the wreck, slow down so you can make as many maneuvers as possible. So here we are with our Brookstone Lucky Dog Award. It will be that 10 truck of Monty Glover's going to get it. And we saw that the truck that he was racing with, two of Justin White, be able to take the wave around. And fortunately for this 10 truck, unfortunately for a lot of the guys involved, another quick caution that'll put the 10 right back on the lead lap thanks to Brookstone Animal Hospital.
Yeah, and we did mention it, but you know, we're under the first caution flag of the night. I was going to get to it before that other caution came out, but our first Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award here tonight was that man right there, the number 6 of Doug Milliner, who got back on the lead lap just a little while ago in the Indianapolis Colts F-150. So got to give him a huge shout out, as well as our friends over at Brookstone Animal Hospital. If you are in the Atlanta area, make sure you check out Brookstone Animal Hospital for all of your animal hospital needs. Definitely a great sponsor here to have in the National Sim Racing Association. But definitely we've had 2 caution flags here tonight in the first 69 laps or so as the field coming across the start-finish line, and now all of a sudden a lot of beat-up race trucks.
As the proverbial stock car racing saying goes, cautions breed cautions, and especially when you don't have any type of incidents early on in the race that's going to take trucks out of the field. You know, on lap 70, when you have the better part of 30 trucks on the track, I think you're just going to have a natural tendency to have more issues. Had there been a caution on lap 10 that really takes out 10 trucks, then I think there's a lot lower probabilities that one of those guys is going to make a mistake just because there's fewer trucks on the track. So it's not terribly surprising. Hopefully they got this big one out of their way, as we have 1 lap to go here, and we will soon find out. Only 30 laps to go as these guys come down the backstretch. And this is really, really go time, right? There's not any time to really go to the back and get yourself back up there because you just don't know how this race is going to unfold.
Yeah, and I'm keeping my eye on this man right here, the number 30. Remember, he was right up there at the front of the field at the beginning of the night. And as of right now, looks like all 4 corners of that number 30 truck are pretty square, maybe a little bit of right rear damage. So hopefully Joshua can keep the foot in it in the Stay Tuned Sports Toyota Tundra, maybe walk away with a win. But one thing I'm seeing here, Drew, is that accident took out a good number of trucks here, as we don't have all too many trucks without damage. But one thing I'm going to be interested in is we had a lot of trucks come down pit road here under this caution to add a little bit of fuel. Now all they need is a little splash of fuel to make it to the end. That little less time on pit road at the end could spell victory for these drivers as a green flag waves once again at Daytona. Chris Darling and Ben Mashburn, a couple teammates right up there at the top of the field. Mashburn's going to slide in behind the 47, and Zach Howell there in the number 37. He's going to try and pull up to the third position.
Yeah, I mean, great restart for those teammates. This is really what they want to see. Unfortunately, their teammate in that 44 truck was taken out in that deal, or at least got quite a bit of damage. But I think the two teammates who have shown a ton of speed and short of that, the 50 and the 9, I don't think that really any other teammates have been able to really get up there and kind of do what we're seeing from the 47 and the 24, which is really do a great job in controlling this race and kind of making the rest of the teams and the drivers respond to them. And a little bit of a strung out pack here. Not terribly surprising when a huge portion of the field is taken out in one wreck. But we'll see if these guys are able to kind of string this back together. I mean, your whole top 10 is pretty strung out at this point, Peter.
Yeah, and the names at the top of the screen were all involved in that accident. Definitely, Ben Adams, also to add to that list, TJ Buck also on pit road. Looks like Matt Cherry finally emerging from pit road. But a lot of trucks who had extended pit stops to fix damage. I think most of those trucks have retired the vehicles here tonight, including the Bradleys, both Nicholas and Brian involved in that one. So keep an eye on the ticker on the left-hand side of your screen, because you'll start to see, hopefully, some of those trucks get back out there on the racetrack, try and pick up some positions, because, Drew, we're closing in on the chase. Only 5 races left after tonight. Every point might matter.
Exactly, and this is two of the guys out front that we're seeing are guys that they don't need good points nights, but good points nights will go a long way in helping them feel more sure of their position come the chase time when guys are going to be eliminated from the ability to compete for a championship. So they're doing what they need to do, and yeah, we're just not seeing a ton of swings of momentum. I wonder if, two cautions like this back-to-back like that, the second of which was just massive, if they kind of has these guys spooked a little bit, where they want to, keep it a little more under control, a little bit calmer here, as we're looking at the 49 truck, 62 of Colin Ullery, the 51. Does that 62 have some damage? Can you tell us who's got some damage that we're looking at here, Pete? Because some of these guys do, some of these guys don't.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I was using this camera to kind of see what drivers have some damage. There's Steven Doziak. He has a little bit of damage back there. Looks like the 971, Nathan Maurer, might have a little bit of damage. James Arello in the number 9 looks all right. Bill Edwards back here in the 50, he looks all right. And then you get a little bit further back to some of the trucks who were definitely involved in that accident, who are off the pace. Joey Doucette right now in the 61, he's really trying to hustle to get up to the pack, but he's got no help. There's a lot of right front damage. There's the number 4 of Drew Himmelman. He was definitely involved in that accident. You can see that number 4 has a lot of front end damage. He is back behind the pack. There's the number 48 of Matt Cherry in front of him. So definitely a lot of trucks involved in that one, but we still do have at this moment in time 21 race trucks on the lead lap, but a couple have lost the main draft. There's the 47, Chris Darling, continuing to lead the way around this racetrack right in front of his teammate, the 24, Ben Mashburn, who needs a good night. Mashburn's had terrible luck in that number 24 machine. In fact, I was pondering earlier today who I thought was going to walk away with the checkered flag here tonight, and I was thinking about, possibly one of those drivers needing a good run, and the name that sprung to my head earlier in the day was this man right here in the 24 machine of Ben Mashburn, because we saw Darling get that win, Drew, at Talladega. Remember when he went sliding across the start-finish line? And I think it's time for his teammate there, Mashburn, to get to victory lane finally here in the Simbox Truck Series.
It certainly would do him a world of good, right? As you just mentioned with points. But again, I don't think Chris Darling is going to be one to just Greg Biffle it and let his teammate go to victory lane. I think that it's going to be a heck of a race between those two if things kind of keep where they are now. Though, again, I definitely think that guys like Ray Heilig in the 7 truck and in the 26 JT Pool, and then some of the like Josh Sobel, I mean, he has some rear end damage. I don't know how much that's affecting these trucks, which I'll get into in just a second. But I think these guys are going to kind of come back together. And it, like I said, speaking to the damage, I'd just like to remind the viewers watching that iRacing damage isn't necessarily logical in how it affects your speed. You can have very little rear end damage and it affect your speed a ton. And then what looks like pretty bad front end damage doesn't affect your speed a great deal here at these restrictor plate tracks. Looks can often be deceiving with the way that actually was calculated by iRacing. So the 30 doesn't look like he has very much damage, but I think we've all seen guys that look like they're destroyed and they run just fine at Daytona or Talladega, and guys that look just fine are down 3-4 miles an hour in speed. So hopefully that 30 truck is fine, though. It certainly looks to be up to speed, as we have, about 10 cars in this front pack here, Peter, maybe 15?
Yeah, about that, as you see Drew Himmelman there in the number 4 machine fall a lap down in that truck. So now we're down to just 19 trucks on the lead lap. But pretty much everyone in this lead pack are on the lead lap. So we are currently sitting at 19 trucks in this lead group, although there are a couple of gaps kind of towards the back. And it's going to be a little bit, I think, until we see some of these trucks kind of come back together and start to get racy. Because you and I know, Drew, when you have a couple of big wrecks back-to-back like that, you start to get it in the back of your mind that, maybe I shouldn't get racy until right there at the end. So I think a little bit of self-preservation going on right now out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, I definitely think that, when you see a huge wreck like that, it's going to kind of make you reevaluate, like, hey, let's definitely try to get a little closer to the end before we cause another big one there. But I'm kind of, I hope that's the case, because if not, then no one's really in a good position to do anything up here. And based on just kind of my thinking, I think that's probably not going to be the case, that trucks just are going to be able to not match the 47 and the 24 speed wise. I think they're just trying to save their stuff here. And then I do think, as I'm sure you do, there should be another pit stop, correct?
Yeah, there will be at least one more pit stop. Of course, a couple of the drivers elected to come down under this last caution to just add a little bit extra fuel, because you and I know at these super speedways, if you can save a second worth of fuel on pit road, that's quite a big gap on this super speedway. So, definitely saw that out of a couple drivers. As Jordan Scheffler in the number 13 machine, he's going to get passed by this lead train. But the number 13 of Scheffler is currently being scored 5 laps behind the race lead. In fact, that is a battle, believe it or not, to him and Matt Cherry right there, right in front of him in the 48, who has also had rotten luck this season. This is a battle for the 23rd position, 5 laps down between them. The first truck 1 lap down would be the number 4 of Andrew Himmelman, but he is currently well off the pace right now. He is currently out there on the racetrack, Drew, going 150 miles an hour. All your leaders are going 180 miles an hour plus, so that number 4, definitely a lot of damage on it. Speaking of a lot of damage, let's see if we can go down to pit road and catch up with the number 84 machine of TJ Buck, Drew.
Roger that. TJ Buck, Drew Eisman in the 3 White TV booth. You got a copy?
Dude, what's up?
Well, unfortunately, TJ, we kind of saw that incident unfold, and your truck is now in the garage. The whole pack did such a good job for, 60, 70 laps, darn near. How difficult was it with the closing distances? We saw huge runs. Big wrecks like this happened, but were there really dramatic closing rates between these trucks tonight?
Yeah, it depended. It was kind of hard to get a run unless somebody had switched a lane recently. When somebody left a lane, that entire lane took a hit, and then if more than one person left the lane at a time, I don't know if you remember the portion of the race where 4 people at once stepped out on me. It seems to hurt the line when somebody switches lanes, which is to be expected. But other than that, I wasn't seeing any ridiculous runs.
And yeah, it's kind of what we saw from up here in the booth. And then how was how are drivers treating each other? I guess were guys cutting each other slack? I mean, typically when you see a 60 lap run here at Daytona with green, you typically are going to see some pretty courteous driving. What did you see out of that the windscreen of that 84?
Yeah, it was pretty clean for the most part. It was you could see how specific people drive, and then you adapt your race to that. But for the most part, yeah, nobody's doing anything insane. I didn't see 3 wide one time. I actually enjoy 3 wide, but I know there's a lot of people afraid of it, and it just makes them like get crazy and start sawing the wheel back and forth. And, yeah, so lots of clean racing. I'm glad we had some clean racing. Yeah, put on a good show for the 3 wide TV viewers.
Absolutely, you sure did, and as did the rest of the field. And so we'll just go ahead and get to the elephant in the room. We saw that big wreck between, with basically starting between you and the driver with the inverse of your numbers, the 48 of Matt Cherry. Give us a little breakdown of what you saw happening.
Before I say anything, he apologized already, so I'm not going to talk like bad about him or anything. But he just got in really fast, like one of those closing rate situations where we were trying to get up to the front in the outside lane. He got up to me pretty quick, and he thought he could take his momentum a little bit to the inside, and I ended up still being there. Ended up spinning me in front of the field, and then when I was trying to get back to the pits, the engine was sputtering, smoking, and I was like, well, that's probably it. Took it in for pits, and it was like 10 minutes of optional. I was like, yeah, I think I'm done.
Absolutely understandable. Well, accolades to you for not being too upset about that deal. It's really easy to kind of take the sim stuff too seriously sometimes. So that's awesome to hear you in pretty good spirits despite your disappointing finish. Well, we'll let you go. We got green flag stops occurring here at Daytona, but thanks for stopping by with us.
Yeah, Drew, definitely green flag pit stops here coming a little bit earlier than expected, and all these drivers get into their pit box nice and neatly. A couple of them taking it a little bit more gingerly than expected, but definitely, a little bit earlier than I expected. They're taking this opportunity to come down pit road. They were last on pit lane about 15 or so laps ago. We know they can go about to 20 to 25 laps, but they are in that window where they can go the rest of the distance from here. Now, the big question is, now we have this lead back. When are we going to see these trucks on pit road? Will we see them on pit road this lap, or are they going to try and stay out there in the opportunity for a yellow? And I think we just got our answer, as pretty much all the remaining trucks going to dive down pit road, except for James Orello and the 50 of Bill Edwards.
Yeah, the rest of the field coming down pit road here. We saw the 30 and the 51 try to stay out earlier, and there's really no point to doing that now. Once everyone's kind of in their window, they're in their window. You're just kind of, trying to trap this guy's lap down, but I think that they saw the writing on the wall. The 47 and the 24 were no longer trapped lap down, so kind of marginal gains at this point. I expect a splash of fuel here and there, but I think our 9 truck's staying out. Is that correct, Pete?
Yeah, the 9 of James Orello and Bill Edwards, the last 2 trucks to head down pit road. They're out there on the racetrack right now. I expect to see them down pit road here. It's been 16 laps since they were last on pit road, but they're out there all by themselves. They need to get back with the pack, but they're going to stay out here yet another lap, which is a bit surprising. Now, when you're out there with only one other truck, you don't have that big pack to punch a hole in the air, so you are going to be losing ground, but they think that they can go a little bit longer. Maybe they can pick up a yellow, but the longer they stay out there, Drew, I think that's going to be the worst possible scenario for them if they don't catch a yellow.
I'm with you, Peter. I don't understand the point of them staying out right now. The 47, the 24 trucks, they're the ones that are in a really great position right now to be able to really do a good job closing this thing out. They're not alone, though. They got a lot of guys out there. The 9 and the 50, they've led those guys back on the lead lap. All they're really doing right now is cost themselves just a little over a second a lap. So I don't really quite understand it, but I think here they come down pit road.
Yeah, so they finally elected to come down pit road. They said, you know what, I don't think we can do this for all too much longer without losing a lot of time to the pack. Now, one thing we have seen out of James Lorello and Bill Edwards this year, they know how to get on and off pit road. They are masters of nailing the pit lane. And there you see the 9 sliding into his pit box, getting all he can get. Now the big question is going to be, what about Chris Darling? Where is the number 47? He's leading this train of trucks. Is he going to flash on by him? We're going to find out here, Drew.
Yeah, it's how is that 24 truck going to work his way up to that 47? But there's a lot going on right here up front. The 26 truck, the 37, the 971 of Nathan Maurer. Doug Neal, who we haven't seen up there all night, is up there, and now we got the 50 and the 9 truck coming off pit road, and I don't think they're going to be able to hold on to this lead pack here, Peter.
Yeah, I think they just waited one lap too long. They should have come down pit road one lap sooner. They're definitely going to need a caution flag to get back up into the fray here before the end of it. Now, there might be a couple of other trucks that they can kind of catch up with, but they are too far back. I think they're too far gone because we're now just 12 more laps to go here in tonight's Daytona 250 for the Simbox Truck Series. Make sure you check out Simbox. There's a link in the description for all of your button box needs here in the iRacing service. But the number 47, Chris Darling, got the win at Talladega. We know he knows how to get around this racetrack and get to victory lane here with these Simbox trucks. He's out front, but what about Nathan Maurer? He's got Simbox on the hood of that number 971 truck, and he's got the 77 of Doug Neal, who was the Simbox 250 pole sitter, as the number 5 of Ben Adams going to let these leaders by. That was a late lunge down there below the inside line, and more lap traffic, and that was contact there between the 971 and the 61 of Joey Doucette, and that almost caused a big accident right up there, and that really broke up that high line.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some lead lap drivers that are going to have some unkind words to those 2 lap trucks. You know, it's fine if you're out there off the pace, but I just think you got to be more aware of the closing rates of the guys around you. That could have caused a huge wreck. Watch how quickly these guys are going to come up. Like, man, and just in the middle of the track, like you got to be better than that if you're going to be out there with a damaged truck. You got to do better. I know that it's certainly not intentional on the part of those. I believe that was Joey Doucette and Drew Himmelman, but you just got to be paying attention to that F3 and when those leaders are closing up on you, because it can cause a problem. Just like we saw, that could have taken a bunch of trucks out. And I know that 971, that whole outside lane just really got the the raw end of that whole deal.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, that 971, Nathan Maurer, he was battling for the race lead. Now he is back in the 8th position. He does have the 77 of Doug Neal lined up behind him, though. Now just 10 more laps to go here at Daytona. 25 miles here around the famed Daytona International Speedway, the world center of racing as it is known. And that outside line, now look at Doug Milliner. Remember, he was one of those drivers who got the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. He's trying to mix things up on the high line, but there's a head of steam from the 971 and the 77. They're hooked up once again, and we were just saying, Drew, Nathan Maurer was all the way back there in 8th. Now he's in 3rd.
Now the question is, what does Chris Darling do to defend that lead? Does he go high? Does he go low? He's going to have to make a decision now as here comes that 971 truck at 47. Looks like he's going to stay low. I got to say, I would I don't know. I don't think there's a great option. I think if you go high, then that gives the bottom lane a bunch of momentum. If you stay low, I think that 971 has just been carrying so much speed, and that high lane is starting to form up so well that I just don't think that there's a lot. There's not a perfect decision by Chris Darling, although that inside lane, he's starting to pull forward just a little bit, but I expect that outside lane to now get a little bit of momentum coming out of the corners. You tend to see here at Daytona, and then that 77 is giving that 971 a heck of a push, though not a lot of momentum on that high lane as JT Poole's doing a really good job of pushing that 47 truck, Peter.
Yeah, that outside line, though, man, I gotta say, they had such a huge run. I don't think I've seen another run like that between the 971 and the 77. Maybe they're trying to figure out something for the final lap of this race because we only got 8 laps to go. That was reminiscent of the 2007 Daytona 500 where Kevin Harvick came out of nowhere with a huge shot from behind to take the race lead. And there we saw it almost go wrong for JT Poole in the 47 of Chris Darling. They kind of had to check up in the corner because there was almost a little bit of bump drafting there going off into turn number 1. And that little accordion effect really just kind of jumbled up that inside line, and that outside groove of the 77 Neil pushing Maurer were able to get that run and almost get a truck length ahead, although now the outside line has the same problem, and now they have to check it. That gives the inside line an advantage. They kind of seesaw back and forth here at Daytona.
Yeah, it looks like the 77 just kind of missed his mark on where to turn in. Like we talked about before, it's so hard to see where you are on the track going into these corners, and on the high lane, you don't have that reference point. And so it can be really easy to just kind of miss where you need to turn in, and then all of a sudden you basically break up your own lane, right? Because you're no longer having that arrow effect on that car in front and pushing them forward. So I think that's probably what we saw right there, though it can be kind of hard to tell in the moment, but it definitely did not go how those two trucks wanted. As now they're coming up on another lap truck, the 60 of Matt Vanderkoy. We'll see if this goes drama-free. It does. Certainly better than what happened only a few laps ago. That high lane, though, short of that scare, they've held their lane pretty well. There's the 37 moves up quite a bit. Might give a little bit of momentum. Man, there's so much energy. The 6 of Doug Milner, I don't think that's really going to work out the way he wants. The 47 almost corrects, and now we're going to be 3 wide here. Chris Darling gets the raw end of that deal, and he did a heck of a job to save that truck, because I don't know if JT Poole got in the back of him or what, but that 47 got really sideways coming out of the tri-oval.
Yeah, we'll see this one here on the 3-wide TV replay. Keep your eyes on that race leader. The 47 looks like he got loose all by himself, went down there below the yellow line, able to get it corralled back up there on the racetrack. And now we're back live as JT Poole's got himself up to the front. Darling's still in second. How about that? That outside line now really broken up because Maurer in the 77, they got taken 3 wide as the lead pack now catches up to the back of Ray Heilig and the number 7 TikTok Chevrolet. He's going to stay high here through the tri-oval. Now just 5 more laps to go in the Simbox Truck Series. Daytona 250. Tonight we will mark the halfway mark on the 2020-21 Simbox Truck Series. Who's going to walk away with the checkered flag? Doug Milliner in the number 6 machine. Remember, he was a lucky dog not all too long ago. He's going for the race lead with a little help from your reigning series champion.
And when was the last time that we saw that 6 truck in victory lane, I wonder? That's right, Daytona. So he is not a stranger to victory lane here, although he's going to be maybe at the top 3 wide. Man, these guys are really mixing it up here as the 51, the 24, 3 wide. They're right at the tail end of your top 10. But up front, JT Poole, Chris Darling, they've had some challengers come on the outside lane, but no one's really been able to break those two, although they did switch positions with that moment from Chris Darling. As we're closing in to just 4 laps to go here at Daytona. It goes by so fast. You really need to be in a good position right now unless something extraordinary happens. I think it's really down to the guys that are furthest back that have a really realistic shot are Mitchell Adams and that 33 truck of Jeffrey Johnson Jr. I think it's going to be really hard for anyone behind those two. I say that. Here comes Ben Mashburn up the middle to split them 3 wide. He's going to be looking to get behind that 6 of Doug Milner. I think that's really going to hurt that outside lane, though, as there's some big checkups on that high groove. That's going to really break that high groove apart, and that's going to allow that 33, maybe even the 62, who has quite a bit of damage. They're going to be making some moves as here comes a 37 truck to the outside.
The number 37 is Zach Howell trying to get to the top side, trying to get a little bit of help from the number 6. A little bit of side drafting there from the 33 of Jeffrey Johnson Jr. This is going to be a stellar finish, folks. Make sure you get up out of your feet. I know we got a lot of people in the chat right now. Rich Sobel saying keep your eyes on the outside because the number 30 of Joshua Sobel, your Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award winners up there as well. Could he walk away with a win? I was broadcasting a race here at Daytona earlier this week, Drew, and all chaos broke loose on the final lap. And here we go, just 3 laps to go, and contact between Zach Howell and JT Poole. Somehow that wasn't an accident. A very late bump there on entry into turn number 3. And now Chris Darling's got his nose out front again, your Talladega winner.
I think that's going to be temporary. It's a huge, huge run on that outside. JT Poole, the 37 to Zach Howell, the 6 to Doug Milner, all with massive, massive runs. That high lane is just
really well formed up, and that 37 is not getting off the bumper. That 26, they're going to have 3 trucks clear of Chris Darling. That is certainly, it's the 26 truck almost loses it going into 3. The 37 just got off his bumper a little too late. Doug Milner to his inside. Man, all sorts of things are happening here. Remember that prediction? Oh, you can only win if you're this far forward. Well, that's completely out of the window. As the 24 of Ben Mashburn now making a move to the outside lane. Oh, is the 37? Oh, we got a wreck. The 6 of Doug Milner.
And there's a wreck back behind the number 30 of Joshua Sobel involved. My, oh my, caution flag. We're going to have a green-white checker at Daytona. How about this one, folks? 3-wide TV replay. We're going to have to go to the slow-mo to figure this one out. Lead pack catching some cars. There goes Zach Howell down into the grass, and then contact between the 47 and the 6. Chris Darling involved. He saves it, though, but definitely looks like Paul Bilson, the 6 of the number 6, oh boy, who's the number 6? Milner right there in the number 6 machine, and also the number 30 of Sobel getting quite a bit of damage. And Drew, that was kind of an accordion effect that happens here at Daytona on board here with Sobel. Watch Milner there on the left-hand side of your screen. There's the initial contact, and then all of a sudden, Sobel got absolutely turned. Nothing he could have done.
Yeah, just looking through it, yeah, it's just kind of guys got out of shape just because of the stack up. And then I think what happens is, so you'll see right here, everybody just starts to stack up as guys get out of shape. And then the 47 actually gets a bump draft that then kind of shoots him down the track into Doug Milner. I don't think there's really anything that Chris Darling could have done. I think the 33, didn't know what was going to happen, but he just got into the back of that 47. And it just kind of, when you don't get hit quite square, it'll move that truck to one side a little bit. And unfortunately, it kind of pitched him to the inside and into the left rear of the 6 truck. And then it all kind of goes from there. So our leader, though, we talked about the wreck and what happened, but we didn't talk about what's going on up front, and that is the 24 truck of Ben Mashburn. Boom, our race leader. He's going to bring the field to a green-white checkered. I know that at Daytona it can sometimes be a disadvantage to be the race leader, but I think on these green-white checkers, I think it honestly gives you a better shot as the race leader to maintain that lead rather than 2 normal green flag laps. What are your thoughts, Peter?
Oh, man. We said at the end of this race the action was going to ramp up, and I think we saw it right there. I mean, they were all racing 3 wide, 2 wide, beating and banging. That's what you see at the end of these races at Daytona. And now that we have this green-white checker, it's going to throw everything for a loop. I don't know what's going to happen. I'll tell you what, I called a race earlier this week at Daytona, and I said, man, I don't think I've seen that at Daytona in a long time. Well, we might have a surprise winner for the second time this week here on 3-Wide TV, because they definitely had a big race here at Daytona earlier this week, and looks like they might do it again here with this green-white checker. I'm looking forward to it. And I'll tell you what, the chat is going absolutely nuts here after that one. Joey Ramirez saying R.I.P. Sobel. Mike Tellier, oh noes. A couple of things that I will not repeat in the chat. Stay tuned Sports definitely saying just looked over and just cursed seeing Josh spin. Yeah, definitely not the night that your Sim Racing Shirts Poll Award winner, the number 30 of Josh Sobel, wanted. However, he is still on the lead lap, and let's see if we can kind of see that race truck. There he is. Quite a bit of damage on that truck, but all things considered, Drew, doesn't look too bad. We'll see if he can get that thing up to speed here, for this green-white checker.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly going to be difficult for him to compete outright for this win, but, I mean, I've seen the top 12 wreck themselves here at Daytona. So he's on the lead lap. He's certainly not going to retire at this point. So, I mean, he's probably just looking at the timing and scoring and kind of who's left, who's on the lead lap. Yeah, I mean, he's not going to lose a ton more spots. He is 12th right now. The worst he could fall to, I believe, is 19th, is the last truck on the lead lap. So, I mean, that's certainly, those are some valuable points at this point in the season. But, I would be shocked if there isn't another incident, because that's just what green-white checkers tend to do here. But we'll see. Looking at the standings here and where guys are running, our points leader, James Lorello, down in 11th. Bill Edwards He is in our top 10, but just barely. Kind of looking at the tail end of this, though, Ben Adams has not had the night that he necessarily wanted. He is now 14 laps down, and I don't believe that 5 truck is on track, so that's going to hurt him in points. Colin Ulrich's done a good job, keeping that truck in the race. He's got some damage, but he is still on the lead lap, though down in 18th, but he can't really lose many more positions if he finishes this race. Of course, Mitchell Adams has been so quick and was able to do a heck of a wreck avoidance during our big one here right around lap 60. He is in our top 10. So a lot of those guys kind of at the tail end of the top 10, and also including Chris Darling, they are, in a pretty good position to get a good finish, but guys like the 5 of Ben Adams, not the night that they wanted it, and it's going to not be great for them in points.
Yep, and definitely we're going to figure out who's going to walk away with a checkered flag here tonight. Green flag in the air once again here at Daytona. And that outside line got the best run it's got all night, but look at the 37 of Zach Howell. He made a little bit of contact with the outside retaining wall, and that's going to allow the 47 of Chris Darling to get to the back bumper of JT Poole in the 26 machine. But that inside line here on this restart looking very strong.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that 37 just misjudged it just a little bit. He didn't pop the wall, but he just scraped it just enough to where, when you're trying to gain as much momentum as possible here at Daytona, that is an absolute killer. But it's going to take about getting to the start-finish line for these trucks to really be truly up to speed. Here is the 77 of Doug Neal making a move to the inside of that 24 as the 33 gets in the back of him and a little bit of a checkup. Mitchell Adams gets a bump. The 26 of JT Poole bumps to 24. And we have our second caution.
No, green flag stays in the air. Oh, no, there's the caution flag. So caution flag did come out there before they made it to the start-finish line. I thought maybe, just maybe, we had made it back, but this is a little bit further back in the pack between the 7 and the 88. Oh, yeah, just contact there coming out of the corner. Looks like the 88, Michael Mooney, might have come down just a little bit. We'll see if we can get another look of that one here. And here we go. This will be a second attempt at a green-white checker coming up. Mooney there on the high side, 7 on the inside line coming out of the corner. Looks like he tried to make a run on the number 30 and expected maybe the number 7 of Heilig to be a little bit lower down there on the racetrack, but definite contact between those two, and bam, right there at the end as well. So unfortunate night for Michael Mooney there in the RC Cola Ford F-150 engine smoking there right at the end. So we're going to have another attempt at a green-white checker, but Drew, new race leader, the number 70 of Doug Neal, he was able to put the number 24 to the high side, just get underneath them, and just kind of sneaked on past on that inside line before that yellow flag came out, just before we made it to the white flag.
Yeah, I mean, that was a heck of a move by that 77 truck. Really able to kind of almost muscle his way to the inside of 24. I'm not sure if he gave him maybe a little nudge or what, but 24 left just enough of the door open to the 24's coming to pit lane, maybe? I'd say I don't think any of these guys are going to be close on fuel here, though. I guess we'll find out. I think most of these guys came around lap 80, correct, Peter?
Yeah, I'm keeping my eyes on it. Looks like they came down around lap number 84. I'm seeing a lot of drivers with 20 laps since they last pitted. In fact, we'll see if we can bring up that graphic up at the top of the screen. You can see Doug Neal, Ben Mashburn, and in fact, that graphic is not actually correct. That graphic is not taking into account the green-white checkers. I have some other live timing and scoring on my screen, so we'll remove that graphic. But I'm looking right now. We got Doug Neal. He pitted 20 laps ago. Ben Mashburn, he pitted 21 laps ago. Jeffrey Johnson Jr., 20 laps ago. JT Poole, 21 laps ago. And we have had a couple of cautions, over this run. In fact, this is the second attempt at a green-white checker, but it's not out of the picture here, Drew, of possibly some trucks running out of fuel. I'm sure if you're Doug Neal right now, you're clutching it, you're putting it in neutral, whatever your means of saving fuel, shutting the engine off, turning the engine back on, whatever you need to do. I'm sure he's doing it right now to try and save every little drop possible, because this could be an interesting finish if some of these trucks run out of fuel.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot going on, right? There's a lot going on. This will be our final green-white checkered as well. So, there is no second chances at this point. When we take the green flag, either the yellow flag or the checkered will win the race. Typically, if they get to the white flag lap, they get to the final lap. Very rarely is there a caution turn. I don't think I've ever seen a caution turn in iRacing. Really, it's if you're the leader. I mean, quite frankly, at one of these tracks, at Daytona, Talladega, or Monza Oval, if you're crazy enough to run that, you're really hoping that. Because just the probability is that you're hoping that there's a caution that first lap, because it's going to be we just saw Ben Mashburn looked like he had a great restart. That bottom lane was pretty well formed up, and he still just struggled to maintain that lead. And we see that so often here at Daytona. I certainly stand by my earlier statement, and I think there's a higher chance that you are able to maintain the lead from a green-white checkered position than you are on a normal green condition, just because you have a full lap where it's kind of hard to get by you because everybody's getting up to speed. But it's still going to be incredibly difficult for this 77 truck to hold these guys off.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, after this race is all over, well, some of these drivers might need a care package, but www.nsracares.com. Make sure you check out that link to donate a little bit of money, because I'll tell you what, these NSRA series admins, they do try and raise a little bit of funds for a good cause, and it is going to the Ronald McDonald Houses, their charities for cancer research. So make sure you check out that link. There is a link in the description for that, and maybe give them a little bit of money, showing both appreciation for the race here tonight, but also putting your money to a good cause. The pace car here going to head down pit road for what will be the final time here tonight. This will be the last attempt at a green-white checker. We'll know who walks away with a checkered flag in 2 laps from now. Doug Neal in the Simbox number 77 machine. He led us to the green to start the season, and the Simbox 250 is a couple of trucks there having a little bit of wheel spin, having problems getting going, but looks like they're all able to keep it together. Green flag back in the air here at Daytona.
Oh, but we got a wreck. Is that going to end it? It will. Doug Neal. Wow.
And that is a huge, huge wreck back in the back of the pack, involving Chris Darling, among others. We'll go back and see exactly how that all started, because it definitely happened not long after we got the green flag. Let's see if we can go back live here in slow motion. Chris Darling and James Lorello. Lorello maybe coming up on the number 47, maybe a little bit of net code between them. And looks like it sent them spinning. Oh, there goes the number 2 hard up into the outside wall. Of course, Justin White there. And there goes the number 37. Zach Howell involved. Bilson involved. And oh, Joshua Sobel, was he able to squeak through? Not quite. Contact there. There's Nathan Maurer getting involved. The 50 of Bill Edwards. And this lets you kind of see all of it happen in the grandiose slow motion. There goes Steven Doziak getting into the side of the Sim Racing shirts. Red Bull 62 of Colin Ullery. Drew Himmelman back in the pack. This is a big, big, big accident here happening that will end the race here tonight. No more attempts at a green-white checker, and looks like Doug Neal's going to walk away with the checkered flag after all this is said and done. Wow. Crazy. Let's see if we can go on board here with the number 971 and Nathan Maurer. And there's that contact right there between the 9 and the 47. And it was on from there, spinning back up the racetrack. And oh man, that is a big, big, big accident to finish off tonight's race.
Yeah, it just some aggressive driving. The 47 certainly was not giving the 9 of James Zorello a lot of room, but that kind of stuff happens on the last lap. We've kind of talked about it, that quite frankly this is what Doug Neal wanted to see, and that there was a good chance that it would happen. I think it's unfortunate for everybody involved, unfortunate for the fans watching, the viewers, that we didn't get to see that really exciting last lap finish. But I don't think Doug Neal is going to complain at all. A heck of a job by him to as we see some guys trying to finish. I'm sorry, I'm watching something else back in the back. That's some funny stuff going on. Someone's trying to push another truck to start finish line like we're seeing here, but it didn't go so well. They managed to wreck each other. But a great job by Doug Neal. doing what he needed to do to win the race, right? Doug doesn't run every race here, but he certainly did what it took tonight here at Daytona.
Yeah, in fact, he didn't get but 100 feet past the start-finish line when he thought about doing donuts in that number 77 machine, as the field's still rolling out there on the racetrack by him. But you know what, Drew? He started off this season with the pole in the Simbox 250, has Simbox, of course, on the hood. They are the series sponsor, and he showed in qualifying for the Simbox 250 that he knows to get around this joint. And here tonight, coming across with the checkered flag, picking up his first win of the season, and doing a good job of burning it down. Definitely going to be interesting to exactly see how the race stacks up when all of the iRacing standings come through. There's still drivers finishing. My, oh my. That's Chris Darling there, just going around Doug Neal. He comes across the start-finish line in 10th, I believe. Still just finishing the race. How about that? What a crazy finish here at Daytona. And folks, don't go anywhere because we have some post-race interviews lined up for you with our top 3 finishers here tonight. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, folks, welcome back to the Simbox Truck Series here, the Daytona 250 on 3Y TV. We're going to have some post-race interviews for you, and we're going to start off with the number 9 of James Lorella. And James, definitely an interesting night for you in the number 9 truck, kind of up and down the scoreboard, and right there, I think a little bit of contact with the number 47 to kind of bring out the last caution flag of the night to end the race. But definitely, all things considered, strong points night for you, finishing 3rd here at Daytona.
Hey, I'll take it for Daytona. Me and Bill Edwards there were just trying to ride around the back, and that caution came out at the end. And we're really just trying to not get caught up in anything. We're kind of going to be content with a top 15 if we could do it. But we had a bit of a chance there at the end. Wish it would have stayed green. But I don't know how I ended up with 3rd there. A couple guys ran out of gas on the last lap, and anyway, it worked out for me.
Well, hey, we had a lot of green flag running there, especially in the first half of the race tonight, which was definitely a great thing to see after the Simbox 250. We had a lot of caution flags early in that race. But here tonight, a lot of green flag running. Tell us about that first half of the race, because I'm sure a lot of drivers were just kind of being patient out there.
I was just trying to be patient. I wanted to lead a lap, so I led a lap early on and then tried to drop back to save fuel. You could save and get to about 26 laps, so I was trying to save enough that if it went green the whole way, I'd have enough to, push it on the last run. So that was really the whole mindset, was just to hang back, save fuel, avoid any wrecks, and, try and stay patient, because the longer the green flag run goes, the longer you think, oh, maybe I should go up there and race. But it was good to stay patient there.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely a strong race for you. But hey, I'll tell you what, next week, we don't have a points race. This race actually marks the halfway mark in the points races this season here in the Simbox Truck Series. But we go to Bristol for the All-Star race. And of course, with your win, you automatically punch your ticket into that event right here on 3Y TV, same time, same place next week. What are your thoughts about going to Bristol for a non-points race?
Yeah, I wish it was for points. I love Bristol. It's my favorite track by far, and I'm excited to run it. It'll be fun to have a little off week before we head into some holidays here. But yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, should be a good one. And then, of course, in a couple weeks' time, because we do have an off week for Thanksgiving, we do go to Twin Ring Motegi. And definitely going to Twin Ring Motegi, you see a lot of IndyCar series go to Twin Ring Motegi, but you don't see a lot of Stock Car series go to Twin Ring Motegi because it is, a racetrack that these NASCARs never raced at. But for Twin Ring Motegi, a little bit different racetrack. It's a little bit flatter than a lot of the speedways we go to. It's a little bit different on turns number 1 and 2 versus turn number 3 and 4. What are your thoughts about that track?
Yeah, I've never run at Twin Ring Motegi. I think I watched a race once, maybe in '98 when the Cup cars went there. But other than that, yeah, I've never been there. I'm gonna have to buy the track and practice a little bit. I think. Excited to try a new track with this group, but I have no clue how it's gonna end up.
Well, I can give you a few pointers because I've raced there myself with a stock car. It is a very deceiving racetrack, really, really wide and very difficult to kind of get your bearings around. So I'm very much looking forward to that one. I know Drew alongside me is as well. And of course, that will be not in 2 weeks from now, it'll be in 3 weeks from now when race number 13 of the 24 in the points paying events rolls off for the green flag. But James, before we let you go, any shout outs?
Yeah, thanks to my teammate Bill and Matt in this run, and S2R. We had a great run there. It was really fun. And thanks to everybody that puts on the series, Simbox, everyone. It's been great. Glad to be halfway through the season. Hopefully, I can add some more points to the point lead and get through. So I hope you guys have a good week. See you at Bristol.
All right, well, folks, that is the number 9 of James Lorello. We'll let Tim go celebrate his podium finish here tonight, and I believe that Drew Eisenman is caught up with our second place finisher here tonight, Ben Mashburn, who was my pick to get the win tonight.
Hey, Ben Mashburn, Drew Eisenman in the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Drew, what's up, man?
Hey, man, some really intense racing there tonight. The first 2/3 of the race darn near went green, and then kind of expected Daytona there late. We saw Doug Neal maybe give you a little bit of a chrome horn on that first green-white checkered. How did that go from your perspective?
Oh man, it was fun. Like you said, we had a good green flag in the early start. Stayed towards the front of the pack. Kind of found my way towards the front. Me and Chris, Zach, and everybody kind of found our way towards the front. But right there at the end, it ain't nothing. I ain't mad at it. That's Daytona. You got to expect a little bump there at the end. If you ain't bumping, you ain't racing. So it was fun.
Well, good to hear that you're a good sport about it. I don't think your season's gone quite the way that you had planned it to. This is your second top 5 this far. Obviously, the first time we've gotten to interview you this season. From your perspective, how has it gone relative to your expectations?
Terrible. I feel like I've had a fast truck pretty much all year. Pretty much, I can feel like I could be top 10, top 5 almost generally every race. Like you said, man, I've been taken out. I've had my engine blown on pace laps. I've been sideswiped coming out of turns and stuff that is just out of my control. And when I've been running top 10, top 5, stuff like that, it's been disappointing. Super speedways, I really feel at home. My other top 10, I could have won the Talladega race. That was a good race. Just got Talladega happen there at the end of that one as well. But I'm usually right towards the front at super speedways. I feel right at home. But other than that, man, it's like you said, it's not really gone as expected. But hopefully this turn my season around and get me back where I belong.
Absolutely, it just takes one race to kind of change your whole season. Speaking of season coming up, the next 3 races a little bit different. We have the All-Star race at Bristol. I'm not sure how the format works out, if you're going to be in the Open or whatnot. What are your thoughts about Bristol?
It's one of my favorite tracks. I actually love short tracks. Super speedways and short tracks are kind of where I do best at. Martinsville, another one. I was running super well at Martinsville. I think I was leading the race for a lot of it and just got unlucky. And it is what it is. It's racing, but short tracks I really feel at home. I love Bristol. It's the home track, so I'd have to do well there.
And then after that, we have Twin Ring Motegi. Have you ever been there before? What are your thoughts?
Nope, never been there. Gonna have to buy it. So I guess whenever we race it, I'll have to buy it, and my first laps will be about an hour before hour before the race. But we'll figure it out.
I would definitely say it's if you re-profiled Darlington to turns 1 and 2 Texas, kind of. It's
Oh,
big.
see, and that's my favorite. Texas is also, I love Texas, so
Yeah,
it'll be enjoyable
it's like you always feel like you're driving the corner wrong at Motegi, right?
for
Just like
sure,
turns 1 and 2.
for sure.
Well, and then after that, looking a little bit further into the schedule, we have Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, a road course. What are your thoughts going into that?
Uh, Another one that I feel comfortable on. I've gotten more comfortable on road tracks. I used to not be able to turn a lap. I kind of got a little bit in the road racing here recently on the GTE side of things, and I think it's kind of carried over. So I expect another one of those races. As long as I can keep my truck clean, I expect to do pretty well.
Good to hear. Yeah, it's certainly a challenging track with these big trucks, but I certainly hope that this finish turns your season around, Ben. But before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Everybody, I don't know. I'm sure if you watch the stream, you could see who who I was working with. Chris, Zach, JT, Ray, Doug. We were all kind of sticking together right there at the end. So all them guys, we had a good night there until things got kind of crazy. It's unfortunate, but man, it's a big shout out to those guys. We worked well all night long, and I think you see the results of that. So just those guys right there.
Well, absolutely. Once again, congratulations on your second place finish, Ben, and thanks for talking with us tonight.
Yeah, appreciate it. You guys have a good one.
All right, well, folks, now we'll do it for our second place finisher here tonight. But I am down in Simbox Victory Lane, right next to the number 77 Simbox truck of Doug Neal. And Doug, I'm going to say Simbox here quite a bit because you were the pole sitter in the Simbox 250 to start off the season. And now you're back in Victory Lane here at Daytona. So this racetrack tends to suit you and your driving style. But tell us about your night, and now you're able to walk away with the win after only leading 6 laps.
Well, we laid back. Me and my teammates Nate and Justin White and Joey Doucette, we all laid back and just kind of rode around half the race, or most of the race actually. And I don't know, we just there at the end we started. We decided it was time to go, so we started going, and we all kind of got jumbled out of line with each other. And I stayed with Ben and pushed Ben to the lead and got behind JT, and then I stayed with Ben on that last call after that last caution. And I don't know. I pulled one out. That's the first win I've had, man. Feels good.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. The number 24 just barely left a lane open for you, and you were able to just get your right front quarter panel underneath his left rear quarter panel, and you're kind of able to sneak by before that second to last caution came out. And I was really surprised that the 24 kind of gave you that lane. How were you able to kind of open up that void that he left out there on the racetrack?
I had a pretty good run coming off right there, and he washed up the track just enough for me to stick my nose underneath him, and thank him for not coming back down and me wrecking him and him wrecking me or wrecking us both. Ben's a good driver. It was a good job tonight, but by both of us. He just left a little bit of room though. And I snuck it in there.
Yeah, well, you definitely did, and you were able to take home your first win of the season, as we are now officially at the halfway mark in the 2020-2021 Simbox Truck Series. So definitely got to say, picking up a win in the first half of the season is good, but now we look towards the second half of the season. Of course, we now have just 5 more races before we're into the chase, and a lot of interesting racetracks in the second half of the season. What are your thoughts about the back half of the season?
Well, I have a hard time on the 1.5 miles. I don't know what it is. I can't keep the momentum in these trucks. I don't know what it is, and I'm about a mid packer, so I'll take what I can get, So, and just try to stay out of everybody's way. A lot of those Mitchell Adams and all those guys, James Lorello, they're all super fast. Chris Darling, they're all really fast. It's just hard to keep up with those guys in those 1.5 miles for me. But I'll do what I can,
Well, lucky for you, we don't have a whole lot of 1.5 miles in the back half of the schedule this year, so maybe things will start to turn good here with momentum from this win here tonight at Daytona. But next week, of course, we got the All-Star Race, which should be a good one, a special event. No points on the line next week. What are your thoughts about going to Bristol for a non-points event?
Bristol's one of my favorite tracks. I love short track racing. I don't know how great I'll be if we can stay out of trouble. It'll be pretty good. I think it'll be it's a good place to have a race like that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, I'm looking forward to going to Bristol for a non-points event. That just sounds like a match made in heaven. So
It's like Saturday night short track racing, right?
absolutely, I'm ready for it already here. And then, of course, we get a week off for Thanksgiving, and then after that, we race all over again for round number 13 at Twin Ring Motegi. And the big question is, we just talked to Ben Mashburn as well as James Arello. They've yet to turn a lap at Twin Ring Motegi. How about you?
I ran there in a open series. I think I want to say I finished third in that race, but it was an open setup, so I don't know. I've never run a fixed setup there, so we'll see what happens.
Well, Twin Ring Motegi is one of those racetracks that just races different than any other racetrack that you go to. So going to be a fun one to watch when we get to that one. But Doug, I know you have Simbox on the hood. You're Simbox man yourself. So and I know you have a lot of people to thank here in the National Sim Racing Association in the Simbox Truck Series. So let's hear it.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all my teammates tonight, Joey and Nate. Me and Nate running a lot of leagues together. Nate's a great teammate to have. He's good. We work together really well, and especially on these super speedways, we always stick together and wait it out and come to the end and come hard. So Nate's always a good teammate to have on your side, and Justin, he did a good job tonight, and Joey did too. I also like to give a shout out to Aaron Mack, who is back home from being in Korea for months and months. I'm not sure how long he was over there, but he was there for a while, and just glad he's home, and like to thank him for his service and everything he's done for being over there, being away from his family. So I appreciate that for him, and glad he's home.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you brought that up. That was something I wanted to mention here on the broadcast tonight, but with all the racing and how it all worked out, wasn't able to mention that. So great to have you back home, Aaron, back stateside here. And now your connection's a little bit better, so hopefully we don't see you blinking out there on the racetrack here going forward. But Doug, thanks for being up here in the booth with us. Congratulations on your win here tonight. And folks, make sure you go check out Simbox for all of your button box needs. Doug, like I said, thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon, hopefully.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
All right, well, folks, that's going to do it from this Simbox Victory Lane here tonight. And Drew, number 77 in Victory Lane. I'm sure you love to see that. That's, of course, what you want to see. But, of course, we definitely have to, before we bring up the final race results, we need to talk about the Taz Racing Customs biggest mover of the race. And tonight, that is going to go to Nathan Maurer in the 971 machine, picking up 26 positions. Of course, Taz Racing Customs, make sure you check them out for all of your custom diecast needs, whether it is a custom NASCAR, a custom sim racing truck or car. Make sure you go check them out. They do a fantastic job. And of course, another sponsor of the National Sim Racing Association. But Drew, I think it's time for us to go through those final race results. So take us through them.
Yeah, I just got to point out, I think Doug Neal is our biggest mover. Started 32nd, finished P1.
Oh, you know what? How did I miss that? You are perfectly right. It was Doug Neal. He was our... So I take everything back. Sorry, Nathan. You're not the Taz Racing Customs biggest mover of the race. You're exactly right, Drew. Doug Neal, 31 positions gained.
I did the numbers this time, Peter.
Yeah, better than I did.
Well, here we go. Our race results. Doug Neal, your biggest mover and your race winner, with Ben Mashburn finishing second. James Lorello, once again, a fantastic finish by that 9 truck, finishing third. Nathan Maurer, P5, P4. Monty Glover, what a recovery from that 10 truck from going a lap down, receiving the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award, all the way back up to P5 through the midst of that late race chaos. Raymond Heilig in P6. Justin White, P7, another Lucky Dog Award winner that was able to bring home a good finish. And man, these guys finished 50 seconds behind the leader. That's just crazy here at Daytona. Stephen Doziak will finish 8th. Chris Darling involved in that late race caution, finishing 9th. And then JT Poole was pushed across the start-finish line darn near. He will round out your top 10.
And you know what's crazy in all that, Drew? we just had 9 trucks finish on the lead lap after that long race at Daytona. I mean, that's absolutely crazy considering we had 20 trucks on the lead lap there with about 5 laps to go. All right, let's move on to 11th place finish. That's your reigning Simbox Truck Series champion, Mitchell Adams. Colin Ullery coming home in 12th. Doug Miller in the number 6 machine. He was mounting that late comeback. He was one of your Lucky Dog Award winners here tonight, finishing in 13th. Zach Howell in 14th. He had a great night going in that 37. Bill Edwards in the number 50. Comes home inside the top 15 there in 15th. Paul Bilson also had a strong night going. I know he says that he has a target on his back, not able to shake that one here tonight back in 16th. Joshua Sobel, your Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award winner back there in 17th. Jeffrey Johnson Jr. 18th. Matt Vanderkoy, who was basically a lap down, Drew, from that first pit road incident where he missed his pit box. He wasn't able to mount too much of a comeback in that number 60 truck, unfortunately finishing 19 laps down. Michael Mooney there, late race accident for him. He finishes down in 20th, Drew.
And in P21 will be Andrew Himmelman. Definitely not the night that he wanted. Same with Joey Doucette in that 61, which will finish 22nd. Jordan Schepler finishes in 23rd. And now we get to the guys that definitely, got involved in some wrecks fairly. I mean, early on in the race, relative to the cautions coming out, at least with Ben Adams and Matt Cherry, 24th and 25th. Aaron Mack, who we mentioned, welcome home, 26th. Jeff Price involved as well, 27th, as well as TJ Buck, who was what a sport he was, having been turned on the backstretch by Matt Cherry. No hard feelings there, as he will finish 28th. Nicholas Bradley in 29th, and then Robert Dudley rounding out our top 30 will bring that 15 truck home in 30th.
And then a couple of trucks here rounding out your field here tonight. Philip Scott there in the number 44, Barry Knapp in the 42, Brian Bradley and Adam Dama, all of the trucks that started. 34 trucks took the green flag at the beginning of the night. David Visser there out of race admin in that number 69 truck down there in 35th, but he did not get to turn any laps here tonight, and the most laps led by Chris Darling, who definitely did not have the night that he wanted to have here at Daytona. But Drew, going back at the beginning of the race, we talked about our stories. The big one, that happened. Tempers, that might have happened. But at the bottom, down there, the chase is looming ever closer. Just 5 more races to determine which one of these drivers will make their way into the chase for the Simbox Cup Series Championship. And definitely going to be a fun one when we take all the points away next week at Bristol.
Yeah, there's going to be no worrying about that kind of stuff. I expect some very hard racing, maybe some scores being settled. Who knows? We shall see.
Yeah, tempers flaring here tonight at Daytona. Well, they'll probably flare next week at Bristol. So make sure you tune in for that one here on 3Y TV. Same place, same time next Friday night for more action. But before we go, got to give a huge shout out to, of course, Simbox, as well as Taz Racing Customs, Sim Racing Shirts, Lynchburg T-Shirt Company, Max Grafix as well for jumping on board as a series sponsor, as well as all of the drivers making the National Sim Racing Series a thing, the National Sim Racing Association, I should say, because they definitely know how to get the job done each and every week here, putting on a show for the fans, as well as Sim TV for the camera angles that we bring you each and every race here on the channel. But for myself, Peter Short, and Drew Eisenman, have a good week. We'll see you next week for more action. See ya!